Chapter 44. A slight display of her skills after listening to Lu Muyan's words. Yin Song's expression was incomprehensible. He believed the expert that Lu Muyan spoke of existed. After all, the Lu clan didn't have an alchemist, so it was impossible for them to refine the marrow cleansing pill. It was just that they didn't know whether the expert was in the Imperial capital or not, nor whether Lu Muyan had more marrow cleansing pills on her or not. He had doubts in his heart, but he couldn't express it directly, so he cast a surreptitious glance to Wanli. Wanli pondered for a moment, then smiled softly and said, "So according to what you said, Lu girl can concoct pills? I heard that you even won a cauldron at the auction. Could it be for your own use? When I was in the cave, Master personally guided me for a few days. I can now refine grade 1 pills. When one should be humble, then they should keep a low profile. But when it was suitable to shine, then one needn't conceal. Only by exposing one's own advantages could they be qualified to negotiate the terms." What? Wanli couldn't help but stand with disbelief written on his face. Yin Tianchun and Yin Song both displayed shock and doubt. Lu Muyan was now a grade 1 alchemist. How could that be possible? Alchemists weren't like cabbages. She only cultivated for how long, and she could already refine a grade 1 pill. They doubted deeply. "Don't believe me?" Lu Muyan raised her eyebrow, took out the Cyan 1 cauldron from her interspatial ring and asked, "Would you like me to show it to you?" "Believe." Wanli suppressed the suspicion in his eyes and put on an amicable smile. "But of course, it would be even better if Lu girl could refine a batch of grade 1 pills in front of us." Alchemists on Tianling continent were simply too scarce, and the alchemists of Yinzhou country were even scarcer, with not more than 10. If Lu Muyan truly was a grade 1 alchemist, then it was definitely worth their efforts to raise her. "Little girl, if you really have this ability, then go ahead and show it. It would be of great benefit to you and even your Lu clan." Yin Tianchun concealed his excitement. If Lu Muyan was really an alchemist, then it would be great for Yinzhou country. Lu Muyan nodded, walked to a table, and placed the cauldron atop of it. Then she took out the spiritual herbs required for the pill she planned to refine one by one. Without a pill flame, she could only use charcoal fire to light up and control it to the temperature required for refining pills. Then she threw a dark green spiritual herb into the cauldron. She used her mental energy to refine the spiritual herb into a dark green liquid, purified it, poured the purified powder into a white porcelain bowl, then threw in the second spiritual herb to continue. The reason why
She admitted that
Lu took out the purified powders one by one was in deep power, throw them into the cauldron times before it was time to condense.
As long
the
as
next
she
thing he knew was he discovered Lu Muyan her difficult time to condense time passed bit by bit. And their people watched as her experience was far more abundant than anyone present. With a serious and confident attitude, every movement was like a faint expression to the eye. There's no such thing as a stinging attack on the battlefield from the cauldron because you're inferior to others. The cauldron when Blue Yen ran glared at Lu Muyan, wafted out from wind element attackpoints on her left shoulder and landed in her hand. There was this one energy she applied the wind energy and it has the miraculous effects and with a strong ray from external injury. Numerous sword long sword in her hand filled a white porcelain bottle with spontaneously and handed it to Wanli had comprehended from her plant's elemental energy. Then the long sword immediately fired one out transforming into only phantoms that surrounded but it wouldn't have any effect on her wind quality pill. Lu Muyan casually glanced at the 10 wind and only stood on a grade 2 alchemist. Lu Yan ran sword or couldn't condense such a high quality pill. This was a prototype not to mention such a high by why isn't she moving? Excellent. Someone in the audience below exceptionally talented amount or is instantly leveled out standing in her original position. Lu Muyan, so he patted the armrest and without any intention flash step to maneuver he was already beside also looked at her ring hand was an idle flowing water on the platform yet drew a talisman watching and well known in the pin-sword everyone could figure out why Lu Muyan did while she was extremely fast. It was definitely impossible for her to advance the other 9 that didn't seem likely. No wonder read on our website her alchemist would value her kept waving her fingers in the air. He was truly wise. Chains of yellow masses of wind out fell on her. There was a faint smile at the audience. Someone had been too focused. His younger sister couldn't stop yelling when the wind used her actual red to convince the others to believe these rose when their mouth out of her mouth. Alchemist, and immediately she also put her yellow talisman along everyone saw where the wind blazed, the most translucent yellow talisman incantation rose in the air and gradually on miraculous corners of the battle turned into a giant talisman figure on the battle platform fell silent for a moment, destroying the tiny sword aura that surrounded her. Unable to conceal the expression droning desire and her smashing rotten come and read on our after the sword aura collapsed. Here, she joined two fingers together on her to admit that maybe behind few circles and wasn't a good husband, stretched out her hand he was a good talisman. What he now thought of was definitely Ran's the energy nourishing pill in the arm, but she was too late to guard her continent. Not only struck her left shoulder, Ran's expression something was quickly took out a spirit even a grade 1 recipe if it weren't but the yellow talisman elemental energy penetrator pill had never appeared on this land and instantly entered her body. More precious. One an idiom girl, can you sell these pills to us? He could naturally see that the wanted to test the energy nourishing at all for its effect. Therefore, spirit quickly avoided drawing the porcelain bottle she had taken back from Wang. It's actually drawing talismans in the void. For a bit. Before raising the other superiors of the empire couldn't help but I don't want money. When they saw the yellow talisman herbs in exchange that could change not a problem freely and destroy, you can write down the spiritual herbs you want. The spiritual force the Imperial treasury that void talisman we can give it to you. Yin Tian narrowed his eyes with a smile. As it gleamed brightly. Being so generous naturally also meant he wanted to win her over. An old man in also was in garments sitting beside. She took out a piece of paper and brush from her interstitial ring. She truly was a person and began to write the list on the table. Results. Then she handed an entire page full of spiritual herbs to Yin Tian. Couldn't help but praise. And amongst them were also the spiritual herbs. I'm afraid this talent even surpasses her eldest brother Lu Mubai. Yin Tian took the paper and glanced over it casually him as her master. Then his face changed. Then that would be even better. The corners of his lips. No wonder it's been rumored that those who have the terminal meridians constitution spiritual herbs are actually exceptionally talented. But there were even some high-level spiritual because they were limited by their terminal meridians that even the Imperial treasury didn't have. It became a burden on them. Was she trying to rip off some foolish spendthrift eradicated her terminal meridians hand the paper over to the Imperial teacher. Then her hidden excelling whether or not to give Lu Mu Yen our Imperial Academy can't let go of such a talent. The Imperial teacher's input. The sackcloth old man lowered the Emperor's helpless and whispered to Wanli. Yin Song took a look. And his expression also changed in resources. Then as long as she can successfully defeat Yen Ran, Wanli took a look at the trial curiously, and couldn't rewarded with it together with the rest of her rewards. This girl was a master who wouldn't suffer. Wanli nodded in what way was this a deal? Not to mention simply an extortion. But what could he do demonstrated today? Was a student based of his Imperial Academy. Talent in alchemy alone was very protective. She was worthy of them so his to heart raise must her lean with all their students. Meanwhile, the colors on the faces of the Imperial family changed Your Imperial family's large and prosperous. Chen rubbed his thumb ring with his fingers firmly. The talent and strength from Lu Yen demonstrated today based on my opinion, expectations. You aren't at a disadvantage after in this transaction. He must find the Imperial originally a very rigorous and reconsider the strategy of winning her over. But right now he couldn't help but glare at Wanli. It truly is with the father that to do with this. The daughter cannot be a dog too. He could speak so casually. An official beside Lu Mu didn't expect that Wanli would stand on her side. The voices that understood when she thought of resounded incessantly. A smile rose on her lips. Accepted them one by one with a calm smile. If everyone in the Lu family had amazing talents, they would never catch the wolf. There was a trash with the terminal meridian's constitution that dragged the family down. But now that the trash suddenly had talents that's comparable to herbs on this list in the Imperial treasury, but the rest might not even be found in the hands of a sword monarch in the empire, let alone the Imperial Lu clan. Simply wasn't something a new clan like already had a guess in her heart, who relied on wealth to gain seven-leaf ginseng as a distinguished family. Could compare to. Yin Tian read out the 9 types of spiritual herbs that they really didn't have in the treasury. Drawing talismans in the void was a little disappointed. So the amazement in their heart wasn't as great to exchange more than 30 but their burning gazes couldn't help but lock onto the bottle in her hand to Yin on the battle platform and said straightforwardly, on the battle platform, forget it. Gu Yen Ran discovered that the yellow talisman incantation, other than these 9 kinds of spiritual force, give me 2 of everything else. So she couldn't convert spiritual force into elemental energy at all. A mouthful of blood. Her heart constricted. Did she suffer a loss? Filled her eyes as she held the cyan long sword in her hand tightly. When I had trouble translating the color, any trace of elemental energy into the sword. I translated it as blue. She looked up then at I edited it to angrily and shouted, "But why did I never think of cyan? What did you do to me? I don't know why it took me so long to figure out how to translate it when it was that simple. It's a mix between blue and green with a look of disgust. Ugly
Two
people will
recognize
do
an
all
amazing
kinds of strange things to gain attention, often used between
Guyen
friends.
ran.
Your
Usually
ability
to describe
put
a
the blame
person
on the victim
or
is much
rhetorically
stronger
describe
than your
themselves.
strength. Means that the person was
Good.
so foolish to do
Guyen ran
something that
smiled
was
in anger.
obviously at the
She knew
disadvantage.
that this trash wouldn't
Usually
dispel
to do
the
with
talisman
money.
incantation
For if one
in
is
her
unable
body,
to take
and a
risks,
sliver of
they cannot
coldness and
achieve
vicious
great
things
things.
flashed in her
5.
eyes
They almost
as she
couldn't
stared at
control
Lu
their
Muyen
anger
like a
slash
venomous
dismay.
snake.
Lu Muyen. It's you who
Chapter
forced
45.
me. Lu
Pampered
Muyen's
consort
eyes focused.
Guyenting Lu
She had
Muyen
felt
left
that
the main
Guyen
hall
Ran
with
would
the
have a
Empress
strong trump
and the
card.
spiritual herb
It
she
seemed that
plundered.
this woman couldn't
While
help
Lu
but make
Mubai
a
was
move
left
now.
behind to speak to the three in
Unsurprisingly,
secret.
although
Aunt
Guyen
Guyen
Ran's
was
elder
blocked,
sister still
and she couldn't
targeting
use
you,
elemental
Lu
energy,
Muyen asked as she
but
walked,
she channeled a
hugging
trace of
Lu
mental
Emos's
energy
arm.
into the
Lu
silver bangle
Emos's
on her
lips
wrist.
curled up with a sneer.
Come out, lightning
So what if
leopard.
she's targeting me?
As soon as
She's just a
Guyen Ran's
jester.
words fell,
She had
a
never
mighty
highly
leopard
regarded
that was more than
Guyen
1
Ting.
meter long
From the
appeared
very
on the
beginning,
battlefield.
all she
Its
cared
eyes
about
swept
was
the
Yin
place
Tianchen's
Chen's
attitude,
and some with
but
a
the
low
results made her
cultivation base
disappointed
couldn't help
time
but
and
shudder.
again.
A
Lu
tear
Muyen
Muyen
caught
caught
the
the
sadness
sadness
in
in
her
her
aunt's
aunt's
eyes.
Guyen
But
Ran
she was
actually
also
has a
extremely
tier 4 spirit
powerless.
pet.
Someone on
Strength
the
could be
stands
improved.
couldn't help but
One
exclaim,
could fight in an
"Come
attempt
and
to
read on
obtain
our
what one
website
couldn't.
Wuxia World site."
But feelings really
Thanks,
weren't
this time
something that
I'll be
allowed other
miserable
people
for
to
Lu
meddle
Muyen.
with.
I
Does
thought
Aunt
she was
want to
going to
improve
win
your
just
strength?
now.
But
Lu
who knew
Muyen
Guyen
pondered a
Ran had
little.
held back a trick.
Maybe doing other
Very
things
good.
to pass the time.
Yeah,
could
I've
make
said
her
it
aunt a bit
before.
happier.
Guyen Ran's
Lu
more
Emos's
likely
heart
to win.
warmed.
Looks
And a
like
charming
I'm right.
smile bloomed
Lu
on her
Muyen
gorgeous
versus
face.
a tier 4 spirit
I'm already
pet
past the
that's
age
as
of
powerful
rushing
as
about
to
to
cultivate.
cultivate.
It's
I'm
only
really
a
not
matter of
keen on the
time
matters
before
of
she
cultivation.
The
She
voices
also
of
knew
several
Lu
people
Muyen
were filled
thoughts,
with gloating and
but
jealousy.
she really didn't have much
compared
talent
to
on the
Guyen
path
Ran,
of
who had always been
cultivation.
excellent and had stayed
Many
at
of them
advanced
felt
phase
unhappy
great
that
sword
Lu
master
Muyen
for
became
many years
someone
already.
so bright.
Although
With the
advancing
temperament
to the
and
sword
strength
spirit
that they
stage
couldn't
was only a
match.
matter of
From
time
a
for
trash
her.
they always
But if she
belittled.
wanted to
They all
advance to a
hoped Lu
sword
Muyen
king
would lose.
it was
The
almost
distinguished
impossible.
guests saw
Then
Lu
what is Aunt
Zhantian's
like?
expression
Alchemy?
collapse,
Smithing?
and Lu Emoyes brows
Talismans?
furrowed.
Or
They
maybe
also
a raise.
didn't think that
Lu
Guyen Ran
Muyen
actually
also
had
heard
such a
that her
trump
aunt
card,
hadn't been keen
and their
on
hearts
cultivation
hovered.
since she was
Yun
a
Wan,
child.
and
And
the
these
others
things
also
couldn't be
revealed a
forced.
worried look.
So she made a few other suggestions. The spirit
Having
pet
things
that
to do was
Guyen
always
Ran
better.
released wasn't only
Alchemy,
a tier 4
smithing
demonic
and
beast,
talisman making
but
all
a middle
required
phase tier
talent.
4 demonic
And I don't
beast,
have any of that.
which was equivalent
Lu
to the
Emosi
strength of a
smiled
middle
and
phase
shook her
sword
head.
spirit. But when she
Not to
mentioned the
mention
last
even
item,
when a human and
there
a
was a
demonic
sense of
beast
regret
were
in
on the
her
same
voice.
level.
I've
The
studied
demonic
the
beast's
basics
defense
of
was
arrays,
better than
but
human.
it's just that there are
So
too
Lu
few
Muyen
ancient
would
records.
suffer a lot from
So
the
even
battle.
if I wanted to
According
continue
to the rules
researching,
of the
I
competition,
don't really have a choice.
a spirit pet was
She
also
wasn't
a part
keen
of
on
the student's
cultivation
combat
since
power,
she was a child,
and therefore
but she
was
liked
not
to study
restricted
on the
to
path
use.
of the arrays.
Even if the spirit
But it was a
pet's
pity
power
that in
was
the end
stronger
she
than
was
the
unskilled
opponents
at
by
it.
numerous levels.
As she thought more and
It
more,
wasn't breaking
Lu
the
Emos's
rules.
eyes darkened.
Haha.
Now that her
Looking at
niece
the second
mentioned
turn
it,
of the battle,
she realized that she had
Yintian's
really
laughed
wasted her
and
time
said to Gu
on
Yuan Kai
unnecessary
beside him,
conflicts over the
"Old
years.
Gu, maybe
Your
Yana
family
was
Yin
right.
Ran sure hit
She
her
should find
abilities
something
deeply.
she liked to do.
She actually has
Her
a
heart
tier
couldn't
4
keep
spirit
revolving
pet.
around Yin
Although there were
Tianshan.
spirit beast
She was really
masters who could
tired.
tame demonic
If Aunt
beasts
likes arrays,
and
then
help
that's
sword
easy.
masters
I
contract
just read some
spirit
ancient
pets on
records
Tianling
regarding
continent.
arrays,
And I
but
still
spirit
remember
beast
them.
masters were
I'll
too
write it
scarce.
down when I return
And if one
home
wanted
and
to
send
ask
it
them
to
for
you.
help,
The
upon
price
seeing
to be
Lu
paid was
Muyen's
extremely
black eyes
high,
shining as bright
as
as
expected
stars.
from the Gu
Lu
clan,
Emos's
who was
heart
Yanzhou
melted
country's
in a complete
complete
mess. This
She
amount of
smiled
money
and
wasn't
nodded.
something an
Sure.
average distinguished
After
clan
the
could
two
afford.
talked for a little while,
You flatter me.
they saw a
Compared
beautiful
to young
woman
Miss
in a
Lu,
pink dress
my
walk
family's
towards them
Yin
with
Ran is
several
still far
maidservants.
behind.
Lu
Gu
Emos's
Yuan's
eyes
grew
smiled
cold,
modestly,
turned her head
but with
to
a
Lu Muyen
sarcastic
and
tone,
said,
and the
"Later,
triumph in his
if
eyes
she
wasn't
provokes
hidden.
us,
So
you
what
don't
if
have
the
to
Lu
be
clan was
considerate.
powerful?
Aunt will
So
take
what
care
if
of
Lu
things if
Muyen
anything
eradicated
happens."
her terminal
She
meridian's
couldn't bear Lu
constitution
Muyen,
and was no
receiving
longer
any
trash?
grievances.
His
and
eldest
didn't want
daughter
the
could
niece she
suppress the
pampered
empress
like her
in the
own
palace.
daughter.
To
change
now
her
his younger
personality
daughter could
because of
naturally
her.
ruin Lu
So what if
Muyan?
she was arrogant
Yin
and
Tianzong
tyrannical?
sneered.
As long as
True,
Yenna
young
was
Miss
happy,
Lu is indeed
sure.
amazing.
Lu
He'll
Muyan
just see how
naturally
she
took the
defeats
Empress
that tier
hand
4 spirit
and walked
pet.
forward
Don't be
together.
beaten up badly.
Gu Yanting
and
was
end up
indeed
ugly
a
crying
beauty,
with tears
different
and
from
snot.
her aunt's
Then
glamour and
surrendering.
magnanimity.
Shut your beak.
She bore a kind
You've
of
got no
delicate
right to
and
talk
demure
about our
beauty that
family's
men
Yenna
preferred
like
more.
that.
In her
Lu
memory,
Moyes' elegant
every time
face
Gu
carried a
Yanting
sense
saw
of
Lu
coldness.
Muyan in the past,
The royal officials
would
that
ridicule
sat
and
nearby
provoke,
didn't expect Lu
specifically
Mo
targeting
would
her wounds.
snap back at the
Her
king
aunt
of
also had a
Jinshi,
maidservant
and couldn't
slap
help
Gu
but
Yanting's
cast
face
sympathetic
because of
glances
this.
at Yin
In the
Tianzong.
end,
The issue
Lu
was
Mo
taken
was
to the
usually
emperor,
elegant
and
and
because
refined
of this,
towards
the
others.
emperor and
But
empress
if he was
feelings
truly
also grew
angered,
colder.
he would be
All in
exceptionally
all,
frightening.
when Lu Muyan exchanged
do you
moves
dare
one
try
with
to
the
say
Gu
that
clan
again?
sisters, she
Yin
was always
Tianzong had
defeated.
never liked
The
Lu
two
Mo.
constantly faked
It wasn't
being
just
weak
that
and
his
aloof,
prestige in the
but Gu
army was
Yanting's
higher than
methods were more
himself.
skillful.
But his
This
strength in
servant
combat
consort
power
Greet's empress
was also all above
once they
him.
were face to face.
However,
Even
Gu
if he
Yanting
was
stepped
afraid
out
of
first
Lu
and
Mo
greeted
right
Lu
now,
Mozi
he
respectfully.
still wouldn't want to lose
Her voice
face
soft
in front
and
of
gentle.
everyone.
Lu Muyan furrowed her brows.
Yin Tianchen suddenly turned his head of women
and glared at Yin Tianzong.
Wasn't gentle act.
This younger brother of his truly, especially the deliberate, soft and sugary voice,
it truly
that
was
made her
time
very
to beat him down a little.
Come and read on our website.
Yin
Tianzong snorted coldly.
Thanks,
but
Stan.
stopped speaking.
The smile on
the blue
Lu
veins
Emo's
in his
face
clenched
had long
hands were
disappeared.
popping,
And
she
nodded
swallowed
coldly.
his anger. Gu Yanting stood and looked at Lu Muyan with
right
a smile.
Now wasn't
greeting.
the time to fall out
Young
with
Yin
Miss
Tianchen yet.
Lu Muyan
when
didn't
that
perform a formal greeting
he would
towards Imperial
definitely
noble
crush Yin
consort
Tianchen.
Gu.
And her voice
Lu
was
Mo
indifferent.
to pieces.
Imperial
Not
noble
only did
consort
Yin
Tianzong bear killing intent
was
towards
surprised.
the two of them.
Today,
Lu
these
Mo
two people
lowered
gave
his
her a
eyes
different
and also
feeling
hit
from
his
the
killing
usual.
intent.
Young Miss
One
Lu
an
didn't
idiom,
go see Sir
but
Chi
with
today.
an addition at the
I
beginning.
heard from Yin Ran
is
that
the
he was
idiom,
accidentally
which means
injured
to
while
amaze the world
cultivating.
with a single feat.
Gu Yanting
is in
looked at
addition
Lu
to that
Muyan
with
with
a
a
smile,
smile,
which means
the
that
meaning
one
behind
was
her
normally
words
very
were
average
obvious.
in performance.
The first person to
play
go
on the
accompany
idiom with a
Chi
father
Xian.
that's a tiger.
When he was injured,
the son
was her
cannot
younger
be a
sister.
dog.
Figuratively,
It's not like I'm
it
the
means that with
concubine
a
the
powerful
Chi
father
clan
such as them,
what does Chi
the son,
Xian being
daughter
injured
in this case,
or not have to
is
do
sure
with
to
me?
not be inferior.
Why should I go visit him?
Also like father,
Lu
like son.
Muyan looked at Gu
Free an
Yanting
idiom
with a smile
and
that
clearly
wasn't
to
quite a
ridicule.
smile. Gu Yanting's expression stiffened. She didn't expect that Lu
Chapter
Muyan,
54.
who would immediately
The most
change the
simplistic
moment
and crude
Chi
battle
Xian
on the
battle
battle
platform,
could be so
because
indifferent
Gu
today.
Yanran's dantian
Now
was
that she
sealed,
mentioned her
the
younger
wind
sister
elemental
being a
energy
concubine,
beneath her feet
anger
couldn't
rose.
be replenished.
Humph,
So
since
I
I
can't
can't
provoke
vanished.
Lu Muyan
She
today.
fell onto the corner
It's
of the
still
battle
good to
platform.
provoke the Empress.
Her eyes died with
Elder
cruelty.
sister too.
She hugged
Are
her
you going
hands
to
and
enjoy
gave
the
orders
flowers
to the
in the
lightning
southern
leopard
park
to
with
attack
young Miss
Lu?
Muyan?
Gu
Lightning
Yanting
leopard
covered half her
tear
face
apart
with
the
the fan
face of
and
the woman
pretended
opposite
to be shy
and destroy her
This
dantian
servant
for me.
consort commented
Gu
on how the
Yanran's
peonies in
bitter
the southern
voice
park
sounded in the
were
lightning
blooming so
leopard's
beautifully
demonic
a couple
sea
of
of
days
consciousness.
ago.
And
The
the
fact
emperor
that the
ordered
dainty on
people
in
to
her
move
body
the
was
peonies
sealed
in
by
the
Lu
southern
Muyan
park
wasn't
to
too
this servant
worrying.
consort's
She
courtyard.
believed that once
Now
she
there are
returned
no
to the
flowers
Gu
in the
clan
southern
and
park
found
to
an
view.
elder with a
So
higher
elder
cultivation
sister does
base
not
than
need
Lu
to go for
Muyan.
nothing. Then she could
Lu
expel the
Muyan
yellow
sneered at such
talisman
direct
incantation.
flaunting.
But
Then
she
turned
wouldn't
her
let
head
Lu
and
Muyan
asked
off.
Lu Moz.
She couldn't let this
Aunt,
woman
since when
shine.
did you have a younger
She
sister?
wanted the lightning
Why don't I
leopard
know?
to completely destroy
Imperial
Lu
noble
Muyan's
consort
dantian,
Gu.
and
This
let her
Empress
become
III
trash
only
again.
has an elder brother
So that
and
even
a younger
with the
brother,
marrow cleansing
but
pill,
no younger
it
sisters.
couldn't change anything.
It's best that you do
After
not
hearing its
randomly
owner's
seek command.
commands, the lightning
Lu
leopard's
Moz
fur immediately
continued on
stood
from
on
Lu
its end.
Muyan's words.
It bared its
But
teeth
today
and
she
growled
really
at Lu
wasn't in
Muyan.
the mood to deal
Lu
with
Muyan's
Gu
eyes
Yanting
not
in
only
front of her
didn't show
niece.
fear.
This
But
Empress
faintly
still has
displayed
something
some
to do.
anticipation.
You may withdraw
It had
now.
been a long time
Gu
since she had a
Yanting's
good
face
fight.
changed.
In her
Her white
previous
teeth
life,
bit her pink lips
she had
and
obtained a
suppressed
set of
the
sky-ranked
hatred in
body
her
refining
heart.
manual
Lu Moz,
that an
the
almighty
almighty
cultivator
cultivator
of the
long
immortal
now,
cultivation
so she could
world
bear her
left
for the
behind,
time being,
describing how
she
to
just
refine
didn't
the
believe
body
that.
like demonic
After
beasts.
hearing that the Emperor
Once the
dug up
skill
the
was
peonies
successfully
that Lu
learned,
Moz
the
personally
hardness
planted,
of one's body
this
would
woman
rival a
wouldn't
true
feel
spirit
unhappy.
cultivator one.
Yes, after
This
taking
servant
the marrow
consort
cleansing
withdraws.
pill to eradicate
There was a
her
hint of
terminal
complacency
meridians
in her voice.
constitution.
After
And start
Gu Yanting
cultivating.
finished speaking,
She immediately
took the
began to
maidservants
recultivate
past
that
Lu
body
Muyan
refining
and
skill.
Lu Moz,
Compared to
leaving the
long-range
back
technique
garden and
attacks.
lotus-like steps
She actually preferred
But
the
the
most
moment they
simplistic
passed,
and crude
Lu
ways of
Muyan
combat
smelled
methods.
a very light sweet
With the
scent from Gu
experience of her
Yanting.
previous life,
She narrowed her
and
eyes.
her current exceptional
There was a
talent.
problem with this woman.
She quickly finished
After a
cultivating
while,
the first
she
layer
moved her
of the
gaze
skill.
away from Gu
The hardness
Yanran's
of her
back,
body could
and
now
when
barely
she raised her
compete
eyes
with a tier 4
she caught a
demonic
very
beast.
light sadness in
now
her
that there
aunt's
was a
eyes.
live target
Lu
for her to
Moz
practice her
appeared indifferent
hands-on
to the
why not?
situation of the southern
Roar.
park on the
The
surface.
tier 4 lightning
But she
leopard
still
already
felt
bore
extremely
intelligence.
uncomfortable inside.
Looking at the humans
Every
roused
single
battle
peony
intent.
there was planted
Battle
by her own
intent
hands.
also slowly
Yet who would
ignited
have
in its
thought
eyes.
that man would
It
let
desired
people
to
dig
vent
it up
its anger
and
and
gift
hatred
it to Gu Yanting
for being forced by
Was
a
he also
spirit
digging
beast
her heart
master.
5 to
Aunt,
contract the
sometimes
low-level
what you
human
see and hear is
who was
not
even
necessarily
weaker than
the
itself
truth.
on her?
Lu
Lu
Muyan
Muyan
couldn't
help but
exercise her
remind.
fists.
Lu
and her
Moz
crystal
suppressed
clear,
the sadness
clever
in her
eyes
eyes.
were filled with
She
brightness.
didn't want to mention
Come on.
anything regarding
Let me
that
learn
man
how
anymore.
powerful a middle-faced
So she
tier
changed
4
the subject.
demonic beast is.
Yen, you entered the
Roar.
palace so
Being
early in the
belittled
morning.
by a human
You must
was
be
the
hungry
greatest
now,
humiliation
right?
possible
Shall we
to
return
him.
to my resting quarters and eat?
Sure.
The lightning leopard
Lu
gathered
Muyan
all the
didn't
pressure
mention
it could
anymore.
muster to suppress
She only
the
had a
human,
suspicion
roared,
in her heart,
kicked its hind
so
legs,
it was best
leapt
to
up,
verify it
and
with a
swung
little
its sharp front
investigation.
claws towards
Then
Lu
speak of
Muyan.
it.
One
Lu
fought
Muyan
with
used
them,
her flash
verbally
steps
or
to maneuver
physically,
around the
and
lightning
could involve
leopard's
obscure
claws.
understandings
No
of
matter
words
how
as
those
well as
lightning
scheming.
fast claws landed,
Two concubines
they
and
couldn't
wives,
even touch
etc.,
half the corner
would
of
also
her
call
clothes.
each other as elder
Roar,
sister,
roar.
or
The
younger
lightning
sister,
leopard
etc.
roared,
and he utilized the power of
she
its
doesn't
demonic
really
energy,
use the word empress,
increasing its
but a
speed several
specific
times.
way of addressing
The
herself.
damned human actually
Like how
had a
the
speed
emperor
that was no
addresses
weaker
himself
than
as
itself.
Zhen.
She
It
used
must
tear her apart
Ben
after
gong.
catching her.
Ben,
Lu Muyan's
I've been
eyes
translating
sharpened,
to this,
and the
e.g.
wind
this young
attribute
miss,
elemental
this
energy
young master when they're
surreptitiously
addressing
gathered beneath her
themselves.
feet. Gong
instantly
technically
rising
means
the
palace,
speed of her flash
but it's
steps,
really weird to say
avoiding
this
the
palace.
lightning leopard's
And
attacks
since she's
with
the
extreme
empress,
speed.
I
The
decided
people
to
in
just
the
make her
audience
use
couldn't
this
see the
empress.
movements of the two
For
at all,
ideal type of
and
walking
could
for
only see the
females,
phantoms
gentle and
that flashed
refined.
on the ground,
5 to hurt
or
her
in the air
basically.
from time to time.
What?
Lu
Chapter
Muyen
46.
can evade the attack of a
I bet
tier
due
4
to the
demonic
appearance
beast
of the marrow cleansing
Isn't this
pill,
speed a bit too
people
fast?
visited the Lu
The
clan
students
like
on
an
the
endless
stands were
stream.
dumbfounded,
Annoyed
to be able
Lu
to
Muyen
use such a
secretly
speed
that
that
went
wasn't
to the
inferior to a demonic
small
beast
building
with
to
power
cultivate
comparable to the
and
sword
arranged
spirit
an array
stage.
around the courtyard.
Was this really Lu
Wanli
Muyen?
paid a lot of
What sort
attention
of
to
skill
Lu
did she
Muyen,
cultivate,
as she was an
a sword
alchemist.
king beside
Knowing
Wanli
that she
revealed
wanted
a hint
to
of
avoid
burning
those who
desire.
wanted to obtain some
Wanli also
information.
had curiosity
He
in his
asked
eyes.
people to guard her
I
courtyard,
don't know, but
and
it
not
should
allow
be a
any
speed-based
outsiders to
auxiliary
bother her.
skill.
In the small
Probably given
building,
to her by that
Lu
expert
Muyen
master
naturally
of
knew what
hers.
Wanli did.
Come and read
and
on
was
our
happy to
website
accept
Wuxia
this
World
personal
site.
favor.
Thanks aside
After
from the
taking a
expert
spiritual
behind
energy
Lu Muyen,
enhancing pill,
he couldn't think
she
of how
began
else
to
she
absorb the
received this
spiritual
skill.
force of heaven
After
and
all,
earth.
The Lu
and
clan
converted
had never
into
used any
spiritual
skills
energy.
that was speed-based
The spiritual
in all these
force
years.
was much more abundant
Mentioning
in the
the expert
academy
behind
than in the
Lu
Lu
Muyen.
clan.
The
While
rest
the
of the people
Dantian
also
also
came
came
to
to
understand
bottomless pit.
to be able
So
to
every
refine
day
a
she
miraculous
absorbed
spiritual
pill, like
force
the marrow
madly,
cleansing pill,
causing some spectacular
having a few high-level
phenomena
manuals
around the
on
small
hand
building.
didn't seem
For
unnatural.
example,
Even though
originally
there's
there
no
were some sword
advancement,
masters
there
who
would
had
be
their
a dense
thoughts on the
amount of
manual
spirit
with a
clouds.
burning desire to
And because
obtain
she
it.
could comprehend
But
all
now
the
felt
elements
as if
in
someone
this world,
poured cold water
some
on them,
spirit clouds
and
that
could
formed
only give
were
up
even of
unwillingly.
different colors.
Lu Muyen,
Gold, cyan,
who was
red,
currently
yellow,
battling the
and
demonic
blue
beast on the
alternated.
stage to her
Such a
heart's
spectacle
content,
also attracted
didn't
the
know that the
attention of
master
the academy
casually
superiors
made up
and
other
helped her
students.
reduce some trouble
But
again.
the principal had
Otherwise,
addressed the
there
issue
would have
early
been many
on.
who desired
Otherwise,
her flash
Lu
step
Muyen's
manual.
small building would have
Emperor
been
Yin
swarmed
Tian
with
found
people
that
who
it was
wanted to
harder and
investigate.
harder to see
In a
through Lu
majestic and
Muyen.
quaint hall
How
within
did the
the
little
academy,
woman that used to
there
have no
sat six
schemer's
high-ranked
heart
people of the
and was
academy.
pure to a point
Aside
she was
from
even
principal
somewhat
Wanli
ignorant,
being a sword
become
monarch
so
expert,
cunning and capable.
the other five
Gu
were all
Yuan
sword
Kai had a
kings.
stern look in his
Principal,
eyes.
He
Just
didn't
what kind of
expect the
skill is
result
Lu
to be
Muyen
like
cultivating?
this. Right now,
How can there
he
be
could
so
only
many
wait
spirit
for the results
clouds
gathering
the
every
Lu
day.
clan already had
Not
one
to
number
mention
one
this genius
situation
of the
had been
empire.
going on for
He
nearly
sure
a
didn't
month.
want to see the Lu
A
clan
tall and
add
thin
another
middle-aged
sword
man
master
asked
with
with
huge
knitted brows,
potential, carrying with his words a sense of inquiry into the situation.
No matter what,
Lu
Wanli
Muyen
held a
couldn't be
blue
left
and white
alive.
porcelain teacup
After
with
the
inked
lightning
bamboo,
leopard's claw attacks
brushed the
failed
top of
time
the
and
cup with the
again.
lid to cool
It
the
was
tea,
completely
and
angered,
took a sip,
raised its head,
even
and
I
roared
don't
again.
know.
He was also
Roar.
very curious
Lu
as to
Muyen
why
narrowed
Lu
her
Muyen
eyes.
could
The
attract
provocation
spirit
only
clouds
just
for such
started,
a long period of
yet
time.
it was angry already.
But this was her
Gu
secret,
Yan ran spirit
and he
pet
wouldn't
sure
look
was
into
the
it.
same as her.
Her cultivating
Both
like
inferior.
this has
It wasn't
attracted
fun
the
at
attention
all.
of other
Taking
students
the
in
moment
the
the
academy.
lightning leopard stopped
During
to
this
roar,
period, she
students
applied a
often
layer of
loiter
fire
around her
attribute
courtyard.
elemental energy
I'm
on her
afraid
fist,
that the longer this
tapped her
extends,
toe,
it
flew
will
up,
negatively
and
affect the
initiated
academy.
the attack against
The
the lightning
middle-aged
leopard.
man continued
Is Lu
after
Muyen
pondering.
crazy? He had a
She's
good
not avoiding
relationship
it,
with the
but
king
actually
of Zhenxi,
started to
Yin
attack it.
Tianzong.
Xiao Ziang
So he had the
exclaimed,
intent to suppress
"Except,
Lu Muyen.
the moment his
A
voice
tall,
fell,
sexy, and
and
glamorous
before the
woman
others could
beside the
reply,
middle-aged man
all they
curled
saw
her
was
lips
Lu
into a
Muyen,
smile and said
having approached the
disapprovingly,
lightning leopard
I
with
don't
only
think
a
Lu
foot's
Muyen's
distance between
behavior
them,
would have any
and
negative
directly
effects.
slam her fist onto the left
The
side
fact
of the
that she
lightning
could borrow
leopard's
the
back.
effects of the marrow
Boom.
cleansing
Lu
pill to
Muyen's
eradicate
punch
their
that composed of a
terminal
violent elemental
constitution
energy
break
fell
through
on
to
the
a great
lightning
sword
leopard's
master
body
cultivation
just like
based.
that.
And could now
Unprepared,
even gather
it was
spirit
blasted
clouds
against
when
the stone
cultivating
pillar on the battle
meant that her
platform,
talent was very good.
followed by a few
Our
echoes
academy
of
should raise her
destruction.
vigorously.
The lightning
Amongst
leopard
them,
jumped up from the
a
falling
woman with
rock
a cold
that buried
attitude
it
after
after
the
the
stone
face
pillar
replied
shattered
with a sense of
and a
rivalry.
strong fighting intent
The ability
was
to
aroused
attract
by
spirit
Lu Muyen.
clouds does not
It
equate
belittled
to
this
good
woman
talent.
too much before.
There are many students
and now
at the
put
great
away its
sword
contempt.
master cultivation
It would
base.
make her pay for
It's
the
too
price of the
hasty to
attack
say
she
we should raise her
initiated.
vigorously
Roar.
based on those 2
The
points.
lightning leopard roared again.
Before the glamorous
As it
woman
leapt
could
up,
reply,
it used its
her
body
expression
to slam
unhappy.
towards Lu
A
Muyen,
rotund old
Lu
man that
Muyen
sat across
chuckled
her with
lightly.
red hair and the fighting
a red
intent
beard
in her
stroked
eyes
his
grew
beard
thicker
and
said
thicker.
with a smile,
A tier 4
I
demonic
heard that Liu
beast was
Clan's little
indeed not
girl
to
is
be
also a grade
underestimated.
1 alchemist.
If it were a sword
Such a
master
good
that
seedling
took on
can't
that
be
punch,
wasted.
then
How
they would
about you
probably
throw her to
already
me
be
to teach?
severely injured.
The red-haired
She
old
was
man
fearless,
was named Wan
and
Yang,
even revealed
and was
excitement
not
on
only
her
Wan
face.
Li's younger
She
brother of the
clenched her
same
fists,
parents,
and
but
immediately
was
went
also
up to
the
greet
only
it.
grade 3
Suddenly
alchemist
on the
in the
battle
Yinzhou
platform,
Empire.
all
He
one
held a
saw
very
was
high
Lu Muyan
status
punch time
and was
and
highly
again,
respected,
with numerous
in terms
fists
of the
landing
power
on the
to
lightning
rally
leopard's
supporters.
body.
It even
The lightning
surpassed the
leopard
principal
wasn't idle
Wan Li.
either.
But
While
he was
avoiding
usually
Lu
indifferent
Muyan's
to
punch,
fame and fortune,
it also wrapped
devoting
its claws
himself
with
to
demonic
alchemy,
energy,
and rarely
directly
appeared in
faced
the
the
academy.
fists that made its
This
skin
time he was
feel
only
as
here
if it were
because
burning.
Wan Li recalled
Bang,
him
bang.
to discuss matters
As such,
about the
one
marrow
person
cleansing
and one
pill,
beast
and
launched
the
the most
energy
primitive
nourishing
and
pill.
simplistic
Of
battle
course,
against
he
each
himself, was
A
also
punch
very
here,
interested
a
in the
claw
girl
there,
Lu Muyan.
another attack
If the
elsewhere.
rumors were true,
Lu Muyan flashed
then such
about
a
in
good
the air
seedling
endlessly,
couldn't be given up.
dodging the demonic
Upon
beast's
hearing
claw
Wang
attacks
Yang's
one
words,
by one.
the faces
And every
of the
time
people
she
present
dodged,
changed.
she would
swing a
except
fist
Wanli.
with fiery
The
energy
face of
onto
the
the
ordinary
lightning-looking
leopard's
woman
body
sank,
specifically
while the expression
targeting
of the
the
middle-aged
lightning
man
leopard's weak spot,
who disliked Lu
and every
Muyan
time
was
she
even
could knock
more
it
obscure.
flying.
The
What
Academy's
everyone simply
grand
saw now on the
competition
battle
is going to
platform
be
was a
held in 3
purple-clothed
days.
woman with
Let's
peerless
wait
beauty
for
and
after the
elegance,
competition to
brutally
discuss
and
this matter.
simplistically bombard
Wanli
the Tier
observed
4
the
lightning
expressions
leopard
of the several
that was
people
famous
and
for its
smiled
speed.
softly.
Don't forget the grand competition.
The lightning
this time
leopard
is
had even
related
retracted
to the
its
selection of
claws
people for
and
the
used its
Empire's
entire
trials.
body to withstand
The once
Lu
every
Muyan's
20-year
attacks.
event is approaching.
Yet it was still in a
Tianling
disadvantageous
Continent's society
position.
structure.
Many
Will
people
also
wondered
change
if they were
accordingly.
seeing things.
Our Imperial
Numerous
Academy
creases
is one of the
formed on
pillars
some
of
people's
Yinzhou
foreheads
country,
as they furrowed
so I
their
don't
brows.
wish for anyone
Lu
to suppress
Muyan,
the students
was it
of
really
this
good for
academy
you
to be
simply
so violent
because
like
of their
this?
personal feelings?
One of people still remember.
After he finished
This
speaking,
is a cultivation
he glanced
stage in her
sharply at the
previous
middle-aged
world.
man.
Basically,
Lu
super
Muyan had
strong
already
and
been
many,
listed
many
by him
stages above
and the
her right
Imperial
now
family
as an important person to protect and raise. So whoever dared to
Chapter
scheme
55.
against her needed to weigh
What
their
was there to fear
consequences.
Lu Muyan?
Come and read
the
on our
lightning
website.
leopard fought
Wuxia
for
were
around
an
an
instant stick
Thanks,
of time.
of course.
Then
They
she
wouldn't make
felt
a
bored
move if it didn't
and
involve
decided
any
to end
life
the
and
battle.
death situations.
This Tier 4 demonic beast was
If Lu
domesticated
Muyan
too
wanted
early
to
by a
enjoy the
spirit
resources
beast
they
master,
provided,
so its
then she
wildness
also
could
needed
no
to
longer
demonstrate
compare
to
to
the
the
other
other
demonic
demonic beasts
beasts
in the
recognize.
wild.
Startled,
That had spent their
the
lives
middle-aged
in a
man's
world
face
where the
changed a
weak
little
became
ugly.
food to the
Wan
strong.
Li's sharp
In
gaze
fact,
made his heart tremble.
its strength was
It
still
seemed
much
that it would be
inferior to that
impossible
of a
to deal with
middle-faced
Lu
sword
Muyan
spirit
in the near future.
Lu Muyan's
Do you
eyes
think
sharpened
anyone
when
in
the
the
lightning
Earth class
leopard
would
pounced
stand
towards
out
her again
and become a member
her
of the
jade-like
trial?
hands gestured
The glamorous
a few times,
woman from before
and
chuckled.
a solid fire
I have high
elemental
hopes for
energy
Lu Muyan.
condensation Taoist
Why don't
seal
we make a bet?
danced in the palm
A
of her
handsome
hand.
young man,
When the
who had been
lightning leopard
silent
was
the entire
close,
time,
she lightly
spoke
tapped
up
her
with some
toes,
interest in his
flashed
eyes.
by the lightning
Let's
leopard's
bet on
side,
whether she can win
then
Guyen
push the
Ran or
Taoist
not,
seal in her
and
hand
win the
directly
single
into the
quota set
lightning
for the
leopard's
Earth's body.
body. Roar!
Sure.
All
The
the glamorous
lightning
woman
leopard
was
could
also
feel where its
interested,
internal
raised
organs
her eyebrows
and
and
Yafu
said,
one burning.
"How should we
As if
bet?"
ignited by
I'm going to
flames.
bet Lu Muyan
It fell
wins.
from the sky.
Well, take
Its
out a
expression
spirit treasure
pained as
each,
its body
and bet on
twitched
whether they win or
uncontrollably.
lose.
Lu Muyan's
The young
eyes were
man
cold.
took out a golden
Every
treasured
attack of
sword
this
and
demonic
placed it on the
beast
test,
headed for her face
a
and her
meaningful
dantian
smile playing about
Not
his
only
lips.
did it want to destroy
I bet
her
Lu
face,
Muyan wins,
but it also
the
wanted to
middle-aged
take the
man sneered
opportunity
and took
to
out a
destroy her
ring-shaped attack
dantian.
magic tool.
Even if it was
I bet that
instructed to
Guyen
do so
Ran
by
wins.
Guyen Ran.
These two
It was
people
still
were truly
unforgivable.
underestimating
Every
the Gu
time they
clan,
clashed,
and
she had
underestimating
already used
Guyen
her
Ran.
fire
He
elemental
knew
energy to
Guyen
draw
Ran's strength
talismans,
wasn't as
and hit
simple
the
as it was on
talisman
the
into the
surface.
lightning leopard's
I also
body.
bet Guyen
She
Ran
could kill it given
the
an opportunity.
ordinary-looking woman,
Except
took
the
out a
Academy
round
had
bead
stipulated
and placed
that during
it on
the
grand
table.
competition.
Wan Yang
They
swept
couldn't
the spirit
harm one's
treasures
life
on the table and
so
said,
she changed it to
I don't have
destroying
any
its
extra
Yaofu
spirit tools
and
on me.
completely
Can
turn
I
it
bet
into
pills?
a trash beast.
Of course.
The Yaofu of
The
a
others
demonic
agreed in
beast was
unison.
similar to the
Elder
human's
Yang's pills
dantian.
were much more
The
valuable
spiritual
than spirit
force too
treasures.
absorbed by the
Seeing
demonic
that
beast
3 of them bet
was
on Lu
required to
Muyan,
go through the Yaofu
Wan Li raised
to
his
be
eyebrows
converted
with a
into
smile
demonic
and said,
energy.
Is this
That's why
interesting for
demonic
you all?
beasts with a
If
destroyed
Lu Muyan
Yaofu would
wins,
become no
how will
different
the
to
3
any
of you
other
divide
wild
the
beast.
spoils?
What?
We're just
the people
looking
on
for
the
some
stands
fun.
were dumbfounded.
If Lu Muyan
Lu
wins,
Muyan actually
then we'll
defeated
sell
a
the
Tier
Tier
4
tools
demonic
from
beast
Hufei and
and
Kong
not
Rong
seeing
won,
things right
and just take the money.
My heavens, the young
Lu
man
Muyan
didn't
so
care.
violent.
He
I
was
like
just
it so
looking for a
much.
little fun in
A
his
male
boring
student
life.
rubbed his eyes
Wan Li
and
also
revealed
knew
his
this person's
admiration.
personality.
Yeah, it
As
was as if he
expected,
feared there
a
wasn't
bowtie
enough
of
chaos
beauty.
in the world.
Even when they're so
He also
violent,
didn't
they're
want
so
to stop
charming.
it.
For a
This
long
was how it
time,
was in a
they
world
never
where
liked
strength was
Hufei,
respected,
and letting them
without
bet wasn't
strength,
anything serious.
no matter how strong
I won't
one's family
participate in your
background
bet.
was,
I'll
or
just
how
be a
beautiful
witness.
one was.
In his
One
heart,
would always be
Lu
looked down
Muyan was
upon
more
by
promising,
others,
and
so he
crowned
hoped
with
the
the title
little girl
of
wouldn't
trash.
let him down.
If one's strength was
Meanwhile,
recognized
Lu
by the
Muyan
public,
didn't know at all that
then
her
the hearts
results
of
in
the
the
people
grand
would change
competition
well,
were being used
and
by
one would
several
win the
people as a
respect of
bet.
others,
And was currently
Well,
attempting to break
Lu
through to
Muyan, this
advanced
tigress,
phase
is too
Great
violent.
Swordmaster stage.
Xiao Ziyang
Half a
stared
month
at Lu
ago,
Muyan with
she
a look
already
of
used the
excitement on his
spiritual
face.
energy accrued in her body to break through to middle phase
Following
Great
his
Swordmaster
exclamation,
stage. His shoulder was greeted with a slap
Recently,
from Lu Muting.
her Dantian
You're
had
the
been
tigress.
ceaselessly
Your
absorbing
entire
numerous
family are
spirit clouds
tigresses.
again.
My little
to the
sister,
point that
such
the
a
speed
likable
of conversion
beauty.
into
How she a
spiritual
tigress?
energy was not as fast
Lu
as the
Mubai also
absorption
turned his
speed.
head and glanced
She
at
decided
Xiao
to
Ziyang
slow
faintly,
down
and
his
used
eyes
the
filled with
spiritual
evident
energy in her body
unhappiness.
to break through
Yunlan
once
also
more.
looked at him
Heading to
unhappily and
advanced
said
phase Great
disapprovingly,
Swordmaster.
"Cousin
As
simply
such,
has an honest
she could not
temperament.
only stabilize
Take
her
good care of that
cultivation
mouth of
base,
yours,
but also
Xiao
provide
Ziyang
more
shrank
guarantees
his neck
for
into
the
a
grand
shoulders.
competition.
It was just
One
a
based
slip
on
of
the
the tongue. He
characters
looked
used
at
for the
Yun Luo
names.
aggrieved,
Hu Fei
begging
is the
for help.
middle-aged man
But
who
seeing
dislikes
he also
Lu
had an
Muyan,
expression of
and
disapproval,
Kongrong is the
he
normal-looking
instantly
woman.
deflated and smiled
Note,
awkwardly.
Due to the start of
I'm
daylight
joking.
savings, This chapter and my
defeating
following
the
Tier
chapters
4
may
demonic
update
beast
at a different
made everyone
time
in the
where you guys
audience
live.
seats, including the distinguished guests, completely stunned.
Chapter 47.
Not only did she fight across
the grand
levels,
competition
but her
begins on the
speed was
day
also
before
so
the
fast.
Academy's grand competition.
Just how much strength did she
a
hide?
large cluster of
Lu
five-colored
Muyan,
clouds
what did you
gathered
do
in
to
the
the
sky
lightning
above the
leopard?
small building.
Gu Yanran
Once
suddenly
they
felt that the
into a
connection
spirit
between
cloud,
her and lightning
they were
leopard
naturally
was
dragged
gradually
into the
weakening.
small building
Seeing
by a
her spirit
gravitational
pet
force.
rolling on the floor
Lu
in
Muyan's
agony, her
dantian
heart
kept
kept operating.
operating.
But
And the
anger
slivers of
quickly replaced
spiritual
everything.
force lingered around
Lu
her
Muyan
dantian
raised an eyebrow.
before a very
It's
pure
just as you
spiritual
see.
energy spread
You
from her
dare injure my
dantian,
spirit pet,
replenishing
Gu
each of her
Yanran's
meridians,
gloomy gaze ruined
cleansing
that
them
soft
again
and
and
delicate
again.
appearance of
After
hers.
her whole bodice
And now
meridians
appeared like
were
a colorful,
saturated with
venomous
spiritual
serpent
energy
that desired
the
to
remaining
swallow
spiritual
Lu Muyan
energy
alive.
in her
Lu
dantian
Muyan sneered,
turned into a light
Gu
green
Yanran,
mist
aren't
that
you
kept
thinking
rotating.
too highly of yourself?
When the time came,
I don't even
the
care
light
for
green
you,
mist
let
instantly
alone just a
spread
spirit
and filled
pet.
up her entire
If I want to
dantian.
injure, I'll injure.
She sat
If you
cross-legged
can't
with her
accept it,
eyes
then come
closed
bite
as her
me.
hands changed
Lu
gestures
Muyan,
in front of her
you've really
chest,
forced me this
forming
time.
various hand
Gu
seals.
Yanran's face was
When the light
slightly
green
distorted,
mist in her dantian
come and read
was
on our
completely
website
saturated.
World site.
She suddenly
Thanks, she
opened her
inquired
eyes
from her
and
elder
finished
sister
the last hand
that the
gesture.
trial they would
A pure
participate
energy
in
came from
after
within
the
her
grand
body,
competition
and the barrier
was different
between
from
middle
the
phase
past.
great sword
If
master
one won,
and
then
advanced
the
phase
opportunities
great sword
gained
master
would be
were
100
shattered by
times
the
better
energy
than what
feeling
one
that
could
the
obtain
spiritual
from
energy was
cultivating
even
in the
more
Imperial
abundant,
Academy,
and that her
so this
strength
time she
rose
must
yet another
obtain the
level.
only quota.
She smiled
Lu
and
Muyan's
exhaled a
arched
stale
eyebrows
breath.
furrowed.
Success.
It seemed that Gu
The next
Yanran
day
still
at
had
dawn,
a trick up her
Lu
sleeves.
Muyan withdrew the
Whatever
array
tricks
around
you
the
have, just
courtyard
use it.
and exited
Gu
the small
Yanran
building.
bit her lower lip.
She looked up at
with
the
the grieving
scorching sun
appearance
blooming
as if
in the
saying, "You
sky
forced me."
as the breeze
Then
gently
she focused
raised all her
elegant
energy
purple
into the
clothes.
green jade
Her
pendant
entire
around her
person
neck.
seemed to
An
be
energy
shrouded
that
in a
didn't
layer
belong
of
to her
golden light.
overflowed from the
Today
jade
was the
pendant
day she would
and
rise
entered
from
her
dormancy.
body.
Surprise
And the shame
flashed
she
past
once
Lu
bore would
Muyan's
also
eyes.
be washed
Gu
away.
Yanran
She
actually
desperately
wanted to
borrow
set
someone
foot
else's
on the path
strength.
of the strong.
With her strong
After
mental
exiting
energy,
the courtyard,
she naturally
walked
discovered
merrily
that there was a
towards the
hidden
Imperial
power
Academy's
that was sealed in the
battlegrounds.
jade pendant.
The Lu
And it
Muyan
wasn't
right
weak
now
at all.
exuded a
The
passionate
sealed
and
wind
confident
attribute
look,
elemental
with her
energy
exceedingly
penetrated
bright
into
and
Gu
beautiful
Yanran's
face,
meridians,
as well as her
then
graceful
finally
bearing.
converged around her
There was even a
dantian
sense of
lingering,
otherworldliness, causing the people around
due
her
to
to
the
be
yellow
unable
seal
to
and
control
control
their
of the
gazes.
talisman
Is that Lu
incantation.
Muyan?
However,
Am I seeing
the
things
energy
right?
couldn't enter her dantian.
Someone whispered on the way.
Gu Yanran
You're not
clasped the long
mistaken,
sword
it's
in her
her.
hand tightly.
I've heard long ago
and with
that
a
she
thought,
had changed.
She
But who
controlled
knew
that
she had
energy
changed
and
this
forcefully
much?
shattered
So
the
much
void
that she's
talisman
hardly
that Lu Muyan
recognizable.
drew.
Following,
I've got
the
to
energy
say,
plunged into
Lu
her
Muyan's
dantian,
quite beautiful
swiftly
now,
operating,
not at all inferior
feeling that
to
the
Gu
talisman
Yanran.
incantation in
Forget
the
it.
dantian was
No
broken.
matter how beautiful
Gu
she is,
Yanran revealed
she's
a
only
gleeful
trash
smile.
that has the looks
She
and nothing
immediately
else.
absorbed the wind
I sure want to
attribute
see how she
elemental
defeats
energy
Gu Yanran
and
today.
transformed it for her
After
own
talking
use.
so big,
Lu
it'd be
Muyan knew of it
embarrassing
the
to
moment
lose
the
when
void
the talisman
talisman
shattered.
A woman
Half hidden
who
beneath
walked
her
in front of the
sleeves,
men,
she began
couldn't
to
help
perform
but
a few
interject.
gestures with her
That's
hands.
true.
Waiting
Gu
for Gu
Yanran is the
Yanran
most
to make a
talented
move.
student in the Earth
Gradually,
class,
an
and the most
unnatural
promising
redness
one
rose
who
on
could
Gu
obtain
Yanran's
that
small
only position
face,
in the Earth
and a
class for
violent
the
energy
trials.
surged in her body.
What
This time
shocked the
Lu Muyan
spectators
is
was
bound
that
to be
Gu
embarrassed.
Yanran's cultivation
Mentioning
base
Gu
was steadily
Yanran,
rising.
the male
She
student
rose
who
from
spoke more
advanced
love
phase
in
great
his
sword
eyes.
master to
Not
peak
only
phase
is she
great
going to
sword
be
master,
embarrassed,
then
but the
broke
face
through
of the
to
general's
initial phase
mansion
sword
would all be
spirit.
lost.
But there wasn't
How is
any
it that
sign
such
of
an
stopping.
impressive person
Once
like
she broke through
upperclassman
to
Lu
advance
has such
such
a
a shameless
spirit?
and trash sister?
It only stopped because
Those
her
that verbally
physique couldn't
attacked
handle
Lu
it.
Muyan were mostly
Today's sure
female
is exciting.
students.
But I heard
Muyan's
that she's
monstrous.
advanced to the
But
great
this
sword
Gu
master
Yanran also
cultivation
kept
base,
revealing her hidden
and
cards.
the five-colored spirit
This competition
clouds that appeared
even
last
more
month
exciting
in the
than
sky
the
was
heaven
attracted
class.
by her when
Let's
cultivating.
continue to watch
Maybe
a good
she'll
show.
prove herself
I
today.
feel that Lu
A
Muyan's
male
in
student
danger
from
this
the
time.
Earth class said.
Gu Yanran's
TSK,
aura this time
who knows what
is
she
much
used to
stronger
attract
than
the
the
lightning
five-colored
leopard
spirit
before.
clouds.
Lu
I won't
Muyan's
believe
in
she's
danger
really
now.
that amazing.
The battle this time
Maybe it's
sure
a
was
means
full
to
of
attract
twists and
Qi
turns.
Xian's attention.
The students in
A
the
female student who had a good relationship with Gu Yan that the two displayed were both amazing and shocking. She didn't believe those rumors at all, to speculate the result of this competition. Currently, more people stood on Gu Yan's side again. Even if she broke through to the cultivation base of a great sword master with the help of the marrow cleansing pill. Today, let me send you there. But there are more than 30 people in the great sword master cultivation base. It was evident that the energy within her body was a little unbearable for her. Gu Yan would meet in the competition. But it also brought to her an indescribable sense of excitement. Come and read on our website, Wuxia World site. Today. Thanks. She must beat even if they aren't back to her original shape. They still promised and let her fall into the competition between the two will definitely take on Lu Muyan's face. We just need to wait for a good show. Ran's way of inverting the branch. Ever since Lu Muyan exited, rumors about her had spread throughout the Imperial Academy. The strength Gu Yan borrowed was extremely invasive. The
Once
rest
the elemental energy dissipated,
able to obtain
it
the
would
marrow
bring great
cleansing
hidden
pill.
dangers to the
But
body.
didn't admit she
But
was
this was
capable.
Gu Yanran's
The
choice.
balance in more than
She had never
two-thirds of
shown
the student
kindness
voters'
towards an
hearts
enemy
all
before.
leaned towards Gu
She
Yanran.
initially wanted to try
Lu
to not
Muyan
break the
wasn't
rules
interested
during
in
the
their
competition
whisperings
or
and
their loud
secretly
discussions at
disable Gu
all.
Yanran.
Her gaze
But
was
now
natural
she changed her
and
mind.
composed as she
Since
entered
Gu
the
Yanran
Imperial Academy's
wholeheartedly wanted
battlegrounds.
to turn her back into
She found
trash
a
in
seat
public.
in the corner to sit
Then
down,
she naturally
and
would
wait
deal
for
with
the
Gu
beginning of the
Yanran
competition
as she was doing to
because
her.
her previous
In the face of
interpersonal
exceptional
relationships
strength,
were very
what
bad.
did the rules count
She had
for?
no friends in the Imperial Academy, so no one approached her to
It
start
was
a
enough
conversation.
to just take advantage
There were
of the
some who
holes
came
in the
to
rules.
inquire about the
Gu
marrow
Yanran,
cleansing
who
pill
stood
before,
opposite her,
but she
successfully
ignored them
aroused her
all,
once
which
unbridled
made others
and
feel
fearless
that she was
temperament.
arrogant and
Facing
domineering.
this world,
But as if
what
she
was
had
there to
bothered to
fear?
deal with those
One, the
two-faced
literal
people
translation of
because
is
of her
demon
indifference.
mansion.
But
No
its
one came
equivalent
forward
to
to
human
talk to her
Dantian,
after she sat
so
down in her
leave it as
seat.
opinion like
Even
I
the
did with
empty seats
Dantian.
around her weren't
Luckily,
taken
what a
by
Yaofu
anyone,
is gets explained in
deliberately
this
isolating
chapter.
her.
To the
She
word
leaned
was
back in
original
her chair
elemental
lazily,
energy,
closed her
but
eyes
I think it
and
was a
calmed her
typo by
mind.
the author.
There wasn't any
3 I
excessive
swear it sounds
expression
so
on her
weird
face,
translating swear
only
words
calm
haha.
and composure.
He said
After
"Wakao,"
approximately
which is
a
a
swear
swear
word
word, an hour,
for
the
aka
raised
putting the
platform
cart
before
with
the
the seats
horse,
of honor filled
meaning
with
to be
people one by
confused
one,
and reversing the order /
Then,
importance
as
of
a
things.
pressuring voice sounded, the noise from all around stopped instantly, and everyone looked at the
Chapter
person on the high
56.
platform.
Destroying
Today
the
is the
Dantian. It
biennial
hadn't
one
been long
competition
since
of
Lu
our
Muyan
Imperial
came to this
Academy.
world.
I am
So she
honored to be
temporarily
elected as the
restrained her
referee of
arrogance
this
and
grand
independence.
competition. But now
The
that her
person
state
who
of
spoke
mind
was a
suddenly
blue-clothed,
changed,
handsome man.
It felt as if she
Precisely
had
the man
returned
who
to
brought
that
up the
bold
bet
and
that day.
uninhibited female
Lu Muyan
immortal
opened her
that
eyes
looked down
and turned
upon
her
the world.
gaze to the man who
She
spoke.
lowered her eyes.
He was the
and
Imperial
concealed the
Academy's
brilliance in
youngest
them.
sword king
Because
instructor,
of the sudden
named
change in her
Lan
state
Si.
of mind,
She heard
her
that he got
temperament
along
also
well around the
changed
academy.
drastically.
And his Originally,
background was
her
also not
temperament
simple.
was calm and
The
indifferent
grand
like the wind
competition
and
this
water.
time will be separate
But now she
between the
exuded
old
a
and
kind
new
of
students,
proudness and
and
dignity
between the
that
heaven
looked down
class and
upon
earth
the
class.
world. There
And
was
the
even a
results
hint
of
of
the grand
wickedness in her
competition
expression,
are directly linked
as if a
to
red
the
spider
subsequent
lily
trials.
that had suddenly
Lan
bloomed,
Si continued
demonic
after
and
a
gorgeous.
pause.
We will
Seizing
only
the
decide
brightness
the
on the
top 8
shores in the
students amongst
netherworld.
the new and old
Come
students
on,
in the
Gu
heaven
Yanran.
class.
Let
And
me
2
see
for
just
the
how
new and
far
old
you can go
students
with
in
the
the
help
earth
of an
class.
external force.
With a total of 10
Lu
places.
Muyan raised her eyes
I won't say
and
any
looked
more.
at Gu Yanran.
I believe everyone
eyes
knows
that were
the
as bright
importance
as
of
the
the stars
stars
carried
after
with
the
it a
grand
sharp
competition.
brilliance. The
Gu
allocation
Yanran
of
naturally
resources
felt
of
Lu
the
Muyan's
Imperial
changes,
Academy in the future
and she actually
depends
had
on
an
it.
odd feeling.
There are a total
that
of
this sort of bold and
1,800 old
uninhibited
and new
personality
students together
was actually
participating
something
in the
that Lu
competition,
Muyan should own.
but only 10
She shook her
spots.
head and put away
So
the
everyone must
hallucinations
work
in her
hard.
mind.
Hearing
Today,
what Lan Si said,
she must have been
the
provoked
students
too
who sat on
deeply
the
by this
stage revealed
trash.
excitement
People
and
who
fervor.
had some strength
With so
and
many
a higher
people,
cultivation
yet only
base in the
10
crowd,
places, they
also
had to work
keenly
hard.
noticed the change
After
in
Lan
Lu
Si
Muyan's
finished
temperament,
speaking, he
which
announced
formed
the
the start
of
of
the
the grand
contract against
competition.
Gu Yanran's
A total of
softness
30
and
battle
delicatness.
platforms were set
This
up.
sort of dignified and bold temperament immediately pulled the distance
student would
between
draw
the two
lots
apart
to
by
decide their
numerous
opponent.
levels.
As
And
long
made
as
one
they lost
feel
one
that the
round,
light purple
then
figure
they
was
were
more and more
automatically
dazzling.
eliminated.
When
The
sword
8
go,
winners of the heaven
Gu
class
Yanran
would obtain
channeled
a
a
place
large
in the
amount of
trials,
elemental energy
while the
into
earth
the
class
long sword in her
situation was
hand,
cruller,
and instantly
only the
gathered
winner
a
of the
whirlwind.
old students,
With a wave
and
of
the
her
winner
hand,
of the new
the
students
whirlwind
would be
with a
chosen
strong
for a
killing
place in the
intent
trials.
and pressure flung
There
from
were
her
4
long
referees
sword,
on each
heading
platform,
directly towards
2
Lu
responsible
Muyan.
for
There was
maintaining
a
the
time
energy
limit
shield
to
to
prevent
prevent
the
the fighting
fighting
from
from
affecting
the
the
force.
outside.
And she didn't
One
want
was
to talk more
responsible for
nonsense
deciding
with
the
Lu
winner
Muyan
and
either.
loser.
With
And the
all her
last one was
focus on defeating the other
for calling
party
up
and
student
destroying
names
to
her
draw their
Dantian.
lots.
Lu
Muyan
had
was
long
placed
made
on battle
preparations.
platform 26.
Her current strength was
She
only
got the
an
number
advanced
5
stage
lot,
great sword
so
master.
her opponent was also
So she
the
couldn't
number
be
5
compared
lot,
to Gu Yanran,
which meant that
who
they were the
suddenly
5th
rose an
battle
entire
on battle
stage.
platform 26.
But she had a lot of tricks
Gu
up her
Yanran
sleeves.
was assigned to
It
battle
wasn't
platform
difficult to
number
win.
1.
However,
After she finished
during
drawing
this
her
period
lot,
of time,
she
had
had
exposed a bit
confrontational
too many
look
of
at
her
Lu Muyan.
abilities.
But
So
Lu
she
Muyan
decided decided
only
that she would
smile
only
faintly
use her
and ignored
previously
it.
demonstrated
Both of them
fire
were looking
attribute
forward to the
elemental
following
energy
competition
and
in
her
their hearts,
advantage and speed
and
to
secretly
battle.
thought that
In
once
this way,
they met on the
she could
battle
also have a good
platforms,
idea of the
they'd
strength
stomp
of a
each other
sword
down
spirit.
into the dust.
One-ups, it was biennial, not annual.
The lightning leopard that Gu Yen ran released
Time to go
before
back
had cultivation
and fix my
base,
translation,
but didn't have the actual
They never
strength
mentioned if it was
because
annual
it had
or
lost
biennial.
its wildness
I
and battle
translated
experience.
as annual competition
As such,
because
its
I didn't
actual
know how else
strength
to
could only be
translate it.
compared to an
Only
initial
when I was
phase sword
translating this
spirit.
chapter did
Not
I
to
suddenly
mention
have a
aside
thought.
from its
Grand
advantageous
competition
speed and the
sounds
hardness
good.
of its body.
Why didn't I think of
It
that
didn't really
earlier?
have any other outstanding
last
abilities
daily
to
double
note.
update for now.
That's why she
Might
could
only
win so
double
easily
update during the
while at
weekends
this
like
time,
before.
even though Gu
Susceptible to
Yen ran
change.
borrowed an external force,
but the strength she displayed was
Chapter
an actual
48.
advanced stage sword
Grand
spirit.
competition
It
begins.
was
Won the
precisely
Imperial
this sort of
Academy's
battle that was
annual
interesting.
competition. This time,
A fiery
determined
fighting
a portion
spirit
of
burst
quota
from Lu
for the
Muyan's
mysterious
eyes.
trial of
She moved
Yinzhou
her
country.
feet.
And in
In a few
addition,
flashes,
many
she
children and
vanished from the
disciples
battle
of distinguished
platform.
clans and
The strong
families
sword
cultivated
aura
at the
condensed from
academy.
the wind element
Therefore,
landed
the
on a
academy
pillar of the
also
battle
specifically
platform.
arranged
Boom,
seats for
boom.
distinguished
The
guests,
stone pillars instantly
such as
turned
those
from
into
the
countless
Imperial
broken
family
stones
and the
bursting
distinguished
open.
clans of the Empire.
Numerous lingering
To view
sword
the
auras spread
competition
out.
today,
And shot directly
Lu
onto the
Zhantian
protective
also
barrier
came with
arranged by the
Mu
referees
and his two grandsons
The protective
to watch
barrier
Lu
shook a
Muyan's
few times
competition.
before returning
Their
to
seats
normal,
were positioned at
and
the
the two
bottom left
referees
of the
displayed
Emperor.
gravity in
While
their
the
eyes.
seats next to the
They
Lu
looked
clan
at each other
were actually the
and
Gu
continued
clan's
to channel
patriarch
elemental
Gu Yuan Kai
energy
into
and
the
Yin
barrier to
Tianzong,
strengthen its
who knew
defensive
who deliberately
ability.
arranged it
Lu
this way.
Muyan, if you
After
have
the
the
few
guts,
people
don't
met,
keep dodging.
Yin Tianzong
Gu Yan
narrowed
Ran's
his eyes
eyes
at revealed some
Mu,
redness,
then
and
looked
her
away
anger
after
rose
a
to her
cold
head.
huff.
She
Gu
owned the
Yuan
wind
Kai was a better
attribute elemental
schemer.
energy.
So even though he had
she
many
originally had
conflicts
the
with the Lu
advantage
clan,
in speed,
he smiled
but
like
now
the
Lu
Buddha
Muyan,
Bodhisattva one
a
and greeted
cultivator with a fire
Marshal Lu
attribute
General
elemental
Lu.
energy,
Lu
had the
Zhantian nodded
advantage.
lightly while
She
Lu
truly
Mo
despised
smiled
it
and
deeply.
nodded.
Lu
Patriarch
Muyan didn't
Gu,
stop in her steps
after
and
greeting
sneered.
each other,
The
the
feats
feats
also a
stopped
kind of
communicating.
strength. But
If
when
you
Yin
have the ability,
Tianzong spoke
we'll talk
secretly
after
to Gu
you hit
Yuan
me.
Kai,
Go
he
and
would
die.
occasionally glance
Gu
at
Yan
Lu
Ran
Mo
was completely
coldly.
overtaken
Lu
by
Mo
that
was
powerful
naturally
external
calm
force.
and composed,
And with a hot
ignoring
head,
the completely
she suddenly
unthreatening
had the
gaze.
thought of killing
Lu
Mu
Mu
Yen
didn't
right
participate
here.
in the
After
grand
she channeled
competition
the elemental
because
energy
he
into her
advanced to the
longsword
Sword
king stage,
she kept
he was
slashing
specially
towards the
granted a
flashing
position
shadows.
in the trial.
Each sword aura
agreed by
storm
the
exploded on
superiors
the
in the
battle
Empire.
platform.
The battle
Mu was
platform was almost
going to
half
return
destroyed
to the
by the sword
frontier.
aura.
But because
Lu
Lu
Muyan's
Muyan
figure
was going
still
to
remained
participate
flashing
in the
about,
Academy's grand
sometimes
competition,
appearing,
sometimes
accompanied his
disappearing,
family to
which
watch
was
the
breathtaking
battle and cheer.
This sort of
Mu
auxiliary
Ting, you little
speed
kid,
technique
you've
was
been
really
back for a
too
while
powerful.
now and didn't come to
and
greet
read
us,
on our
your old
website
friends.
Wuxia World site.
Xiao Ziyang
Thanks
sat
age,
behind Lu Mu Ting
age, and reached
being
out
unable
to
to hit
Lu
Lu
Ting's
Muyan
back with a bitter
Gu
tone.
Yan Ran screamed
Jin
with
chuckled.
bloodshot eyes.
Xiao Ziyang,
And her sound
what's
that
with your
carried wind
expression?
elemental
As
energy
if you're an
spread out
abandoned little
and
wife.
targeted
How
the
embarrassing.
flashing shadow.
Go,
Lu
go,
Muyan
don't
narrowed
bother
her
me
eyes.
when I'm talking to
She
Mu
truly
Ting.
underestimated
Xiao
Gu Yan
Ziyang's
Ran.
face collapsed.
This woman
and pushed
did have
Yin
some
Jin's
talent.
handsome face.
Previously,
That had neared
she
him
already
away from
created
him.
the prototype
I was
of a
thrown
sword
into
aura
closed
ray,
door cultivation
and now
by
she
Grandpa
even
the
used a
moment I
sound
came
attack,
home, which
we'll
could
have
be
a get
regarded
together
as a
again
rather powerful
after the
ability.
grand competition.
But it was a pity that
Lu
she met
Muting
her.
shrugged
And lied without skipping a beat.
He
After
did
a
shut
pause,
himself up in the
Lu
training
Muyan
room of
stopped
the
in
Lu
midair,
clan for closed-door
extended her
cultivation.
hand, and
But that was
instantly a
because his
fiery,
elder brother
blooming
and
fire
younger
lotus
sister
leapt
were
out
simply
from her
abnormal.
palm. Gu Yan
Which
Ran
gave him
also
a
grew
sense of
fiercer.
crisis.
She
He
gathered
didn't want
all
to be
her
left
elemental
behind too
energy
far,
into her long
so
sword
he worked
desperately.
harder.
But he
Let's allow
naturally
one
wouldn't
move
say
to
these
determine
things
the
in
winner.
front of his good
Lu
friends.
Muyan,
You'll
Mu
definitely
Ting,
lose.
the effect of your
The
closed-door
cyclone
cultivation
continued
is
to
pretty
rotate
good.
around her long
You've already
sword,
broken through
and her
to
wind
advanced
elemental
phase sword
energy
spirit.
gathered little by little to form a
Grandpa
violent
too
cyan
should really
cyclone.
shut you in more
Gu
often.
Yan Ran swung
Yin
her
Lan
sword
looked
with all
at
her
Lu Mu
strength
Ting
and
jokingly.
instantly,
Lu
a
Mu Ting
cyan
rolled
light
his eyes.
flew out at
This
impeccable
was typical
speed.
gloating.
Lu
There's
Muyan
such
also
bad
felt
brothers.
the strong force
Mu
closing in
Ting,
on her.
you hopping
She
up
turned
two
her
levels
jade-like hands
consecutively.
calmly.
Does it
and
have
countless
anything to do with
enchanting,
the marrow cleansing
crimson
pill?
fire lotuses
Xiao
floated out.
Ziyang was a person
Working
who
in
couldn't keep his
collaboration
thoughts
with the
to
first
himself.
lotus,
So
and
he
formed
asked
a
in a
huge
whisper
crimson
after
shield,
glancing around.
made from fire
Lu Mu
lotuses
Ting
before
raised
her.
an eyebrow.
Bang bang.
With its Sundra
The
expression
cyan
3.
cyclone
The
instantly
marrow
hit the giant
cleansing
fire
pill
lotus
isn't as
shield,
miraculous as the
and a
rumors.
huge explosion
It's
sounded
obviously
in
because
everyone's
of my
ears.
excelling talent,
Those
okay?
with weaker
The
cultivation
marrow
bases
cleansing
felt
pill
their
was
heart
indeed
and lungs
miraculous.
suffocate.
And
And
it
it
was
was
only
only
in
in
terms
terms
of
of
broadening
blood.
the meridians,
The cyan and red
washing
rays
the
of
marrow
light met
and
in
cleansing
midair
the
and the
body.
dazzling, but the
Piercing
progression
light
of strength
brightened the
still
sky.
depended on
Seeing
talent
that the
and hard
protective
work.
barrier
He
actually
went from an
started
initial
cracking.
phase sword
The
spirit
referees
to an
hurriedly
advanced
called the
phase
other
sword
two
spirit,
referees,
not
to
just
increase
because
the
the
elemental
speed of him
energy
absorbing the
and try
spiritual
powerful force of heaven and earth barrier was more than otherwise the sword aura and blazing hot fire element. He broke through would inevitably negatively affect the students in the audience, accompanied by madly absorbing that was weakened by more than half by the giant fire lotus and converting it into directly onto Lu Muyan's body. My little sister said that the pill was just an assistance. She didn't dodge, still had to rely on one's own comprehension and hard work. She was slammed back onto the battle platform by that force, so he unconditionally believed that whatever his little sister said was the truth. And a trace of blood trickled from the corner of her lips, because she had used a thick, dense net of elemental energy to protect her heart meridians. Her injury wasn't too serious. She still appeared apathetic as she suppressed the injury caused by the cyclone, another word, and the corner of her lips curled up as they opened. Glared at him. Break! Trust part of the energy of the giant fire lotus shield in the air. was
Lu
also
Mubai
offset
and
by
Yin
the
Lan
cyan
looked at the
cyclone,
bickering too in
but
amusement.
after Lu Muyan's voice
Seeing
fell,
this sort of scene,
it
felt
instantly merged
as if they
together
were being taken
and turned
back
into
to
a
many
red
years
light,
ago.
shooting
Alan,
directly at
how are
Gu
your
Yanran.
preparations for this
Gu
time's
Yanran
trial?
originally thought
Lu
she would
Mubai
definitely
asked
win
Yin Lan
upon
in a whisper.
seeing Lu Muyan
Yin
being
Lan
injured
nodded,
by the cyclone.
almost done. So she
Elder
couldn't
brother
help but
is
reveal a
participating in the
triumphant
trial
smile.
this time for
But she was
Yenna, right?
startled by the sudden
Come
red
and read
light
on our
that shot
website
towards
Wuxia
her.
World Site.
She immediately
Thanks
threw
as
the
the number
green
one
jade pendant
genius,
around her
with
neck out
Lu
before
Mubei's
her,
excelling
channeled a
talents.
portion of
The three
elemental
forces
energy,
of Yinzhou country,
and the jade
had
pendant
long
instantly
recognized
grew
him
larger,
as
and
not needing
protected
to
her in
participate
front.
in the trial.
She gave Lu
It must
Muyen a
be
look of
because of Lu
provocation.
Muyen.
This
that
was
he
a spirit
insisted on
treasure.
participating
The
in the
strength
trial.
of the fire elemental
Speaking of
energy
Lu Muyen,
condensation,
Lu Mubei's
definitely
expression
couldn't break
warmed.
it. The grand competition has begun.
Except,
One
Yin Luo
moment
suddenly
she was looking at
interjected
Lu
as he
Muyen
looked
with
down.
provocation.
They stopped
But the
talking
next,
and all turned
her
their
face
eyes to the
completely
battle
paled
platform
when the red
below.
light penetrated
The first
the jade
four
pendant
matches on battle
and entered
platform
directly
26
into her
were
body.
all not very
A
strong,
heart-wrenching pain
so
was
the battles
transmitted
were
to her
quickly
brain.
over.
When
She
it was
couldn't
the
help
fifth
but
battle,
kneel on the ground.
the moment the
Her
referee
hands
finished
wrapped
calling
around
up
the
the
area where her
contestants,
Dantian was.
Lu Muyen
and
saw
her
a
eyes
young man
filled with
leap
horror.
atop the battle
Her
platform.
Dantian was actually shattered by that
This
red light.
man was a student
and
from
the
a different
elemental
Earth
energy
class,
escaped like
and
a
had no
deflated
interactions
ball.
with her.
She panicked.
He was at the
endured
middle
the
phase
pain,
great sword
and
master
began to absorb
cultivation
spiritual
base
force
with
from
the
the
tap of her
outside.
toe.
But
Lu
when the
Muyen
spiritual
also
force
arrived
arrived
at
at
her
her
Dantian.
Dantian,
When
it
one of
simply
you falls
couldn't
off from the
condense
battle
and convert
platform,
into elemental
you lose.
energy.
Of course,
While the
if
elemental
one of you
energy
voluntarily
stored in her
admits
body was
defeat,
gradually being
it also
lost.
means that the battle
Piu.
is over.
With Gu Yanran's
The referee waved the
Dantian
yellow
destroyed,
flag in his
plus
hands
her
and
internal
announced,
injury.
The battle
She
begins.
couldn't stop herself from
Please
spitting
go
out
easy.
a few mouthfuls
The man
of
on the
blood.
opposite side
She suddenly
cupped his
raised
hands
her head
respectfully
and glared at Lu Muyen,
her voice
without
filled
leaving
with
her any
endless
time
hatred.
to speak.
Lu
He
Muyen,
mobilized his
you
elemental
actually
energy,
dared.
You
Channeling
actually
it into
dared
the
to
long
destroy
sword
my
in his
Dantian,
hand, and
Our
swung
Gu
at
clan
Lu
won't
Muyen.
let you go.
Lu Muyen was
Lu Muyen
indifferent,
stretched out
used
her
flash
hand,
step, and wiped
and
the
quickly
trace of
dodged
blood
the
from the
sword
corner
aura
from
from
the
mouth.
opposing side.
Her eyes
The
unwavering,
difference in strength
and
was
didn't
too
pay
big,
attention to the
so there
threat
wasn't
from
any
Gu
challenge
Yanran.
for her.
This
She
woman's
didn't
brain
take
was
out any
truly
weapons.
rusty.
Right
Only
now
moved
her
her
Dantian
feet,
was already
and her
ruined,
after images
and yet she
vanished
still
from the battle
acted so
platform.
arrogant. Before
What?
anyone
You're
could see
inferior
clearly,
to me now.
she already
So you want to
moved behind
compete
her
using
opponent,
family backgrounds.
and with a strike of her palm,
You think our Lu clan would be afraid?
flew out of the battle
She
platform.
curled her lips and
Wow.
smiled devilishly.
The students watching
Gu
below were
Yanran
stunned.
from now on,
their mouth
just
open
enjoy
wide
the
in
fun of
disbelief.
being trash.
Wasn't this a bit too exaggerated? Because Lu Muyen had always been famous throughout the Imperial
Gu
Academy.
Yanran's voice of
Even
hatred
if it was
reverberated
negative
on the
news,
battle platform,
it'd be followed with
and
interest,
also made those that
not
had
to
been
mention her
dumbfounded
promised
regain their
battle with Gu
senses.
Yanran. So when she hopped
Blue veins
onto the
popped
battle
on Gu
platform to
Yuankai's
compete,
forehead.
many
And his
people
originally
focused their
warm
attention
smile
on
grew
battle
fearfully
platform
grim.
26.
He couldn't resist,
But what
stood
all
up,
parties didn't
flew onto
expect
the battle
was that Lu
platform,
Muyen
picked
would
Gu
have such an
Yanran
easy
up
fight
and checked
as
her
her
injuries.
first battle.
When he
She
discovered
defeated
that
a middle
Gu
phase
Yanran's
great sword
Dantian
master
was
was shattered
one move,
irreparably,
who spread
he
the
looked
rumor
at Lu
that she was
Muyen with
only
a
an
vicious
initial
glare.
phase great
You
sword
cruel
master.
and noxious
It
woman.
was just nonsense.
You dared to destroy
Seeing
one's
that his
Dantian
granddaughter
during
was
the
so
grand
decisive,
competition.
Lu Zhantian
I want you to
couldn't
pay the
help but
price.
smile and said,
He was incredibly
Yenna
angered.
did great.
Gu Yanran was her favorite
sitting
and
in
most
the front
pampered
row,
daughter,
and also
the most
paid
gifted
attention
child
to
of
Lu
their Gu
Muyen.
clan.
Although he
And
was
the hope
shocked,
for the
but
rise
he
of
was
the Gu
satisfied
clan.
with this
He
result.
poured so much
So he
energy
turned his
into
head
raising
with a
his
smile
daughter,
and said,
yet it was now
as
all
expected
ruined
of this
by
little
Lu
girl
Muyen.
who's from the
He
Lu
wasn't
clan.
reconciled.
When she
Gu
battles,
Yuankai's
she
threat
has
of
the courage and
sensibility had been
decisiveness
plucked.
of a solider.
He raised his arm,
Haha, Emperor's
and a wind
right.
blade that carried
Lu
the strength of a
Zhantian
sword
laughed
king
loudly,
flew,
and
directly
accepted
towards
Lu
Lu
Muyen's
Muyen's
praise
Dantian.
without any humility.
The
Gu
wind
Yuankai,
blade was
who
unexpectedly
sat next to
blocked
him,
by a column
had a
of water
gloomy
that
look in
fell
his
from the
eyes,
sky,
but he
an
smiled
elegant
kindly
figure
without
then
any
landed on the
words.
battle platform,
Yantian's
and
own
said with a
snorted
cold
coldly,
voice,
"It's only the
Gu
first
Yuankai,
battle. What's
you
there
dared
to
to
be
have
so
such
proud
an
of?
attitude towards your
So
juniors
what if this
like
old
this?
man is proud?
Then could I
Are you
take this as
unconvinced?
provoking our Lu
Lu
clan?"
Zhantian
Lu
had
Emo
always
had
had
a
a
straightforward
straightforward temperament.
His
Whoever
elegant
said
and
anything
handsome
negative
face
about
revealed
his granddaughter
coldness,
while
had
there was
argue with
killing
them.
intent hidden When the
in his
laughing
eyes.
Buddha, when
Always
Gu
happy
Yuankai
and
saw Lu
smiling
Moyi
nicely.
stand in front of Lu
Technically, the
Muyan,
words he uses
an obscure
indicate
flash
that
of
it's
light
his
passed
maternal
by the
grandpa.
depths of his eyes. According to his
There are
usual
two ways of
temperament,
calling
he
your
used to
grandpa.
disguise himself.
One way by the
He
kids
would never
of your
be
son,
this impulsive,
and another way
just
by the
now,
kids of your daughter.
It was because he was
but might just
stimulated
stick with
by
grandpa
the fact that
unless
his
I need to
daughter's
make clear
Dantian
who's
had been
who.
destroyed.
3 thought long
He tried
and
his
hard,
best to calm
but
himself
decided
down,
to go with Sundra,
but he really couldn't
because the
swallow
Chinese
the anger.
word. Then
Is
did the
literally
Lu
a loan
clan
word
have
from
the
the
right to
Japanese
ruin others'
Sundra.
Dantian
It
so
means to be
uninhibitedly?
cold and distant.
Such viciousness
but only
is
acts
one
this way
who,
because
sure
he's
has been taught
embarrassed
something.
and shy.
Then
Then
I think it's
Gu
also a
Yuankai
loan
raised
word his head
from
to look at
Japan.
the seats of
The
the
Chinese
superiors
is,
and
it
continued
means to have a
indignantly.
sister complex.
Principal,
A state of liking one's younger sister who disregarded the rules and destroyed one's Dantian and foundation should be expelled. Believes whatever Lu Muyen's daughter was trash and could no longer obtain a spot in the trials. Lu Muyen, etc. But he wouldn't let Lu Muyen obtain it either. Complex. Wanli didn't definition that gets rather out of hand. Would link this issue to the rules of the grand competition. It won't go any weird or extreme routes. His eyebrows knitted together tightly. Is he looking for a beating? He fell into deep thought. Note. He naturally didn't want to touch guys in strong trope, but what she did today was indeed a bit too much. Let's see what happens next. Random side public. If it was outside of the drama Squid Game is, then it wasn't an issue. Here I come. But since it occurred inside the drama academy, he feared that it would attract backlash from other students of the academy. Chapter 49. However, grand competition too, there were 1,800 students participating in the grand competition, even without divided into 30 battle platforms within this academy. 60 people each simply based on the fact that between Guyen elimination rounds that pretended after to be the first round outside, Lu Muyen continued to draw lots amongst the remaining students on this battle platform, and drew lot the latter. Her performance discovered that the Gu clan's most scheming person, and the people in her group looked at her with faint fear. The match just now actually didn't mean much. Who deliberately attempted to describe her as cruel opponents was rather weak, to strip her of her spot in the trial. But because the image of her being trash was so whether she agreed or not in the hearts of the people. The rules of the grand competition only said that you couldn't harm the other's life. Guyen Ran stood not far away, that you couldn't ruin a person's Dantian win her first round so easily. Lu Muyen sneered indolently. That was initially calm revealed a trace of hostility. Wanted to kill me first. Qi Xian had also been paying attention to all the people present at the scene are dead. If it were me whose Dantian was battle platform number 26, then would you still come out and fight her competing relaxedly before Gu Yuankai could her hair fluttering in the wind? Lu Mou said with a cold expression, so beautiful and refined. I think everyone could clearly see the situation earlier during the battle, but it was just a momentary thing. After Guyen Ran let out her lightning was drawn. Every time it attacked, automatically ignored the incessant discussions below and Dantian. Walked to her seat. You could tell just who was more vicious battles on the other platforms. After the ferocity level in the Earth Guyen class was much more in support of an external force to increase her strength. Apart from the few occasional battles that also attracted many people's attention. If there wasn't much Yenner had enough strength to protect herself, the referee announced the second round on the ground right now with the destroyed Dantian in the battle would have swapped around. Lu Muyen soon ended the battle and won. Suppressed the killing intent in his eyes. And continued to win usual elegant all the way until the last competition after hearing number 26 of the Lu father and daughter. Lu Muyen leapt onto the stage with a tap of her toe situation. During the previous battle, her opponent was from the beginning to the end named Inua, who was rather attractive. Indeed the first to be ruthless. She was in the same Earth class, but it was just that she didn't succeed. Was also the strongest in their class. They also was a highly regarded someone who wholeheartedly wanted to destroy the relationship between her and Inua was rather stiff. Most people also awoke from the luring Gu Yuankai's words. This woman usually spoke badly about her behind her back. It was a natural rule of this world to get revenge on someone who had wronged them. She once even almost one allowed another to ride on top of them like horses and urinate on their heads before. Then there was disdain in Inua's eyes. Many people who felt Lu Muyen was grand competition now re-examined the situation again. Lu Muyen folded and discovered that Guyen Ran was indeed suffering from her own smile on her face. Of course, while there wasn't much warmth in her eyes, just how confident was this woman to be able to say these absolute words as they did, and her participation in the grand competition. Come and read on our website, Wuxia World site. Since they were matched, thanks after listening to her father's words, she had always wanted to calculate the debt from this woman. Then looked at Wanli and said, the favor of a meal must be repaid. Ran who first while revenge to destroy my damn grievances as well. So my hand slipped. Her temperament was as such, destroyed her knowing to whom she should show gratitude, should be considered self-defense, and to whom she should resent. Watch what you're saying. Who ends not who to mention, only be known after isn't a battle. It considered breaking the rules didn't when she forcibly increased her own strength turned her head to the referee on the battle stage and said, I strongly request the academy to expel her. Both of them were ready. The corner of one the referee repeated the rules. Her hand slipped, then announced the battle begins. This girl sure wasn't embarrassed to say such things in different attitude towards her. It was obviously deliberate when she sealed Guyen Ran's Dantian. A feeling of discomfort rose in Inua's heart. If he didn't guess wrong, if the void talisman wasn't broken by that energy, then after 2 hours, it would let her know that integrate into Guyen Ran's someone trash like her could think about. And Guyen Ran would still become trash. One of the reasons Inua often flashed by Gu Yuankai's eyes was because she adored Qi Lu Muyen could actually and she didn't like seeing a woman like his daughter carried.
who only
She
got
truly
close
couldn't
to
be
Qi
left
Xian
alive
because of her
In
family
fact,
background.
Many people
In
didn't
her
know
eyes,
how Gu Yan
Lu
ran
Muyan
suddenly
liking
increased
Qi
her strength
Xian
was a sort of
After
defilement.
hearing Lu Muyan's
Accept
words,
your
they
death.
couldn't help booing.
Yinhua took out
It
a
was
silver
simply too
longsword
despicable to
and
use a
channeled her
spirit
elemental
treasure
energy
to
into
increase
it.
one's
She
cultivation
leapt up
base.
and swung her
When
sword in the air.
participating in the
The
grand
gleam of the
competition,
sword that carried
there
a
was
thick,
simply no
cold
fairness
aura
in it at all,
instantly turned into
and
a
it was
blue
indeed
sword
breaking the rules,
and headed directly
Who would have
for Lu
expected
Muyan.
that Gu Yan ran?
Come and read on our
who
website
usually
displayed
displayed
gentleness and tenderness.
Thanks Lu Muyan
would be
could
this
feel the blue
unbearable.
sword aura
Lu
carried the
Muyan,
pressure
you're
of an
slandering me.
advanced phase
Gu
great
Yan
sword
Ran's
master.
Dantian was
It
all
appeared
stirred
that
up and in
Yinhua
pain.
trained her sword
But
skill
when she
well.
heard Lu Muyan
But it was a
bite
pity
back,
that her
she
abilities
couldn't
were
help
still
but berate
lacking.
her.
Such
Lu
strength
Muyan
wasn't
glanced
even
at her
worthy for her to
nonchalantly,
draw her own
then
sword.
looked away with
She
disgust,
quickly formed
as
a
if
few
having
hand
seen
seals
something
in front
dirty.
of her chest.
She raised her
With a
head
flick
and
of her
looked at
slender
Wanli
hands,
firmly and said,
a flash of red
Principal,
that carried the fire
since Gu
elemental
Yan
energy
had
shot
broken
out,
the rules,
heading
then
directly
everyone
towards
must
the
see
blue
how she's
sword
held
aura.
accountable.
Right?
In
Otherwise,
just an instant,
if during
the blue
future
sword
grand
energy was
competitions,
completely
other
submerged by the
students
fire,
also followed
and
suit
let out
and
a few
borrowed
sizzling
external
sounds in
elemental
the air.
energy to
What?
raise their
Yinhua
cultivation
never
base
thought
to
that
battle.
Lu Muyan had such
Then wouldn't the
abilities.
grand competition
She put away
become
the
a competition
belittling in her heart
between
and
how
her
face
solid
darkened.
foundations of a
This trash
distinguished
should
clan
consider
were,
herself
and
lucky
whose
for
clan
making
was
her
richer.
use all her powers.
Hearing Lu Muyan's
You're able
words,
to make me use
many
this skill.
students from
Lu
ordinary
Muyan,
backgrounds
you're
showed
very
indignant
fortunate.
expressions,
Yinhua
and
huffed.
displayed a bit of
Her
detest
silver
towards
longsword
Gu Yan
incessantly
Ran.
swung in
The
the
rules
air.
of the Academy's
Then
grand
immediately
competition
following, the
didn't
sword
include
aura
the rule of
condensed into
punishing a
numerous blue
person
petals
who destroyed
and floated
another
towards
towards
Lu
Dantian.
Muyan.
Lu
Sword
Muyan's
aura
behavior was
condensation.
indeed too much,
Yunlan
but it
whispered
was
on
not
the
against
audience
the
seats.
rules.
His brows
After
deeply
some
knitted,
deep
then
consideration,
looked at Yunjin.
Wanli made a
She's
decision,
a member of the E
and
clan.
his face revealed
Sword
gravity.
aura condensation.
Gu Yan Ran
used to
using
be
a
the
Tier 4
E-clan's
spirit
peerless
pet
skill
wasn't
trump
against
card.
the rules either.
A few hundred years
But
ago,
using the power
they
of
had
a
hopes
spirit
of ranking
treasure
amongst
to
the 10
forcefully
distinguished
advance their
spirit
cultivation
sword
base
clans,
and strength to
but
battle.
because they offended
Is
a
indeed
large
a violation of the
they were
Academy
suppressed
rules.
miserably.
His gaze swept over the father and daughter
Later,
pair from
because
the
the talents of the clan grew weaker and
Since
weaker,
Gu Yan Ran's
they gradually
Dantian
declined,
was accidentally
and were now not
destroyed
even
by
ranked
Lu
in
Muyan.
Yanzhou country.
The Academy
This
won't
peerless
punish
skill,
her further.
sword aura
You may go home
condensation,
yourself and
was also
recuperate.
lost 100 years
The
ago.
meaning of going home
But who
to
would have thought
recuperate
it was
was obvious.
unexpectedly used
She
by
needn't
this
come
woman.
back to the Imperial
MM,
Academy in the
she's
future.
named Yinhua, is the granddaughter of the current patriarch
Not
of
saying
the
it clearly
clan,
was considered
and also
giving
the most
Gu clan a
talented
way out of
disciple
this
of the
awkward
clan.
situation.
That's why she was
Wanli's
sent to the
words
Imperial
sounded
Academy.
pertinent. But
There was
people could
worry
still
in
discover
Yunjin's
that he was
eyes.
partial towards
I didn't
Lu
expect
Muyan.
that she could use
However,
sword
with some
aura
thought,
condensation,
it was also understandable.
No wonder she previously
One who had
declared
been
that she
raised
would
by
take
them
the
was
only
now a
spot
trash,
allocated to the
and
Earth
one
class.
who used to be trash
So it
was
turned
now a
out
prodigy.
she had such a trump
Whoever
card.
was less important
He wondered
or
if
more
Lu
important
Muyan could take this
easily
attack.
be chosen
Yunjin
by
would
anyone who
participate in the
understood
trials with the
situation.
members of the Imperial family.
Gu Yan Ran's
So he
fury
didn't
reached her
compete
heart
in the
when she
Academy
heard
selection
Wanli's
for
words.
the trials.
Not to
Yinna
mention
can
the
handle
injury
it.
on her Dantian
Unlike
was
Yunlan
severe.
and Yunjin's
So
worries,
she couldn't stop herself
Lu
from
Mubay's
spitting
different
blood
eyes
and
were
fainting.
stained with a layer
What
of
made the entire
determination.
world even darker
Seeing his younger
was her
sister's
last look at
complacent
Qi
and calm
Xian
appearance
before
on the
closing
battle
her eyes.
platform.
That man
Lu
stared at
Muting
Lu
couldn't help
Muyan
but
with
believe
scorching
shed
eyes
win.
of desire.
Yenna will definitely
so fervent
win.
that it was so
Xiao
obvious and
Zi'an
vivid,
and Yin Luo
while he turned
exchanged
a blind
glances.
eye to her injuries.
Where did the confidence
This was
in
the
these
man
two
she had
brothers
loved
come
for
from?
many years.
The reason why
The
sword
coldness
aura
in her heart accompanied by
is
the
called
glow
a
of having been
skill
turned to
must
trash
have its
made Gu
reasons.
Yan Ran
I
unable
also
to hold
believe
on any
in Lu
longer.
Muyan,
And she completely
Yunlan
lost
pressed his lips
consciousness.
together.
She
Staring
only
at the
hoped that
battle
after
platform
waking up,
transfixed.
everything that
Yunjin
happened today
didn't
was
speak,
just a dream.
but his clenched
When
hands
tigers are
revealed he was
dangerous,
not calm at this
and a
time.
smiling tiger
Lu
described
Muyan's
someone
eyes
that
revealed
lures
slight
one into a
surprise.
false sense of
This
security
woman's
and
sword
safety,
skills weren't bad,
but was actually
except
a
the
dangerous
person
or
using it
scheming
was
person
too weak.
too. Of course,
She didn't even
figurative,
comprehend the key to
simply
this
meaning
skill,
if one allowed
yet she
others
used
to
it
do
so
whatever they
confidently.
wanted to them.
Yinhua was
They
too
were
arrogant.
less and weak.
An arrogant
Random
soldier
note,
was bound to be
yes.
defeated.
Yes, her
She
hand
converted
slipped
part
indeed.
of the spiritual
Random
energy
note too.
within her into
Went to
fire
watch
elemental
Shang-Chi
energy.
last night now that
Once again
lockdown's
formed another Taoist
It was
seal
wonderful
with her hands.
Representation with
Then with
proper
a flick
Chinese
of her
mythical
jade-like
creatures
fingers,
explored,
numerous lifelike,
and the action was
fire
great.
lotuses
It
hopped
was
off
honestly
her
what
fingertips,
Mulan live
as if
action could
blooming
have been.
gorgeously like real
Mulan
ones.
live action was
The fire
honestly a
lotuses that
disappointment,
floated in front
but
of Lu
Shang-Chi did
Muyan
everything right,
were even more dazzling and eye-catching than the blue petals. Upon the release of the fire lotuses, Chapter 58, the temperature around the battle
obtained a
platform
place in the
rose
trials.
steadily.
Gu Yuankai
Found that his daughter in his
What?
arms had
Guan
completely
Yang,
fainted,
who sat
and
on
his
the race
face couldn't
platform,
be any darker.
pushed himself
Good.
up to his feet
I have
with his
truly
hands on the
experienced
armrests
the Liu clan's
and
ability
stared
to
at Lu
reverse
Muyan
black
on the
and white.
platform.
As expected
That little
of
girl
a person
was competent
who comes
in
from the
using
mansion
her
of
fire
one who
elemental
aided
energy
in founding
not
this
at all
dynasty
inferior
one.
to the E-clan's
Gu
sword
Yuankai
or
sneered
condensation.
coldly.
What
Lu
a great
Mo
seedling.
glanced at him,
Then
and
he
said
slapped
with a
his
faint
thigh
smile,
and looked sideways at
Everyone
Yuan
has
Li.
an innate sense
She's
of
only
what
at the
is
great
fair
sword
and
master
just.
cultivation
Whoever
base.
is right or wrong,
Yet she was
isn't
able to
something that could
comprehend
be
the
forced
force
to
attribute
attribute
elemental
simply
energy
based
to
on
this
one's
stage.
words.
She was simply born to refine pills. Take young Miss Gu
want
to
this
seek
little
medical
girl.
care
As
quickly
quickly
as
as
possible.
possible.
The amazement
Your
in his
daughter
eyes.
had been hurt so badly like this. The girl
And yet
from
you
the
still
Lu
have the
clan
time
was
to
constantly
talk so
giving
glibly.
them surprises.
This one Lu truly
Remembering
admires
the mysterious
patriarch Gu
figure
very much.
behind Lu Muyen.
Your Lu clan is truly pushing one too hard. He couldn't
Gu
help
clan
but
won't
pour
leave
cold
this
water
issue
on
as
his
it is.
younger brother one.
Gu Yuankai
Another
didn't
person
bother
has
hiding
long
his true
accepted her
character
as
right
their
now
disciple.
either.
The
You're
Lu
a step
clan
too
already
late.
stepped on his
Wan
baseline.
Yang froze. That's
After
right.
he returned this
This
time,
girl had already
he must
become
plan
someone
well on
else's
how to peel a
disciple,
layer of skin
and
off
he was
from the Lu
afraid that it
clan.
would be difficult
As for
to
Lu
accept
Muyen,
him as a master.
she was just a person
It was
that was
truly a
bound to
pity.
die.
Such a
He
good
sure wanted to
seedling
see
was
how
dug out
Gu
by
Mo
another
and
alchemist,
the others' faces
which old
changes
thing
when
had
that
such
time
sharp
arrives.
eyes.
He
Aye,
suppressed the
strong
strong killing
side,
intent
but the
against
fiery
the Lu father
desire
and
in his
daughter
eyes that looked
carried
at
the
Lu
unconscious
Muyen still
Gu
hadn't
Yan
faded,
and
it
quickly
was rare
headed
to
towards the
encounter
gate of
such
the
a talented
battlegrounds.
seedling.
Although
He
Gu
wouldn't be
Yan's
reconciled
Dantian
if
had
he
been
didn't at
destroyed,
least try.
but he still
One
had a
burst his
sliver of
bubble
hope that,
to
perhaps
extinguish
by
his
some sort of
excitement
luck,
by giving him
their
some
clan's
unfortunate
ancestor
facts.
could have some way to remedy it.
Of course, he noted down this hatred
Chapter
towards
50,
the Lu clan for
Grand
ruining his
Competition
daughter,
3. The blue
and in
petals
turn
fell one by
also
one,
began to hate
while the crimson
Imperial
petals
Academy.
floated towards
After
it.
Gu
The two
Yuankai walked out
forces,
the gate of the
one
academy
condensed with
and
the
got
ice
into the
attribute
carriage,
elemental
his
energy,
usual kind,
and the other
round
condensed
face
with the fire
instantly
attribute
became grim,
elemental energy,
and a green
clashed
light
in
that
midair.
didn't belong to any
The sky
normal
above
person
the two of them
flashed in his
clashed
eyes.
into magnificent
Once the plan
sparks
was
of color.
implemented, the moment
He would
the blue petals
destroy
touched
the
the fire
Lu clan,
lotus and the
it turned
Imperial
into
Academy
countless sword
and
auras
drive Lu
that
Muyen
attempted
and her
to
father
disperse
to
the
the fire
18th
lotus
layer of
elemental
Hell2.
energy.
As soon
But
as
it was
the
a
Gu
pity
father
that
and
the
daughter
moment
left,
the countless blue
Wanli
sword
gave
auras
Lan
touched
a
the fire
surreptitious
lotus,
look.
it
Then
was
sat there
annihilated
as if
by
a
the
calm
dancing
and
crimson
composed old
flames,
monk drinking tea,
leaving behind
not
only
saying
a trace
anymore.
of a blue phantom
After receiving
it
that
had
indicative
dissipated.
look,
After
Lan's
the fire
lips
lotus
curled into a
annihilated
very
all the
shallow
energy
arc.
of the blue
He
petals,
didn't expect that
it
little
didn't
girl Lu
disappear,
Muyen
and instead
to have this sort
the
of
flowers
ability.
converged
How
and
very
condensed,
interesting.
eventually
I announced
turning
that
into
Lu
a
Muyen
captivating,
won the final competition,
majestic fire lotus
and won the only
that slowly
place for the
bloomed in
trials
air.
of the freshman
Go.
Earth class.
Lu Muyen said
Lan
coldly,
cleared his throat
as her voice
and announced
fell,
to the audience.
The fire lotus spun
Wow.
around.
As
And
soon
like
as
a
his
meteor
voice
passed
fell,
by,
the audience
directly
burst
heading
with
towards
fervor.
Inua. Lu
After
Muyen,
Inua's
the
condensed
Academy's
number
number one
one
petals
trash
were
really
obliterated by
defeated
Lu
her
Muyen's
opponent
fire
in the Earth
lotus
class and won
the
first
calm and
place,
arrogant look in her
as well
eyes
as a
suddenly
place in the
changed.
trials.
She quickly mobilized her Bodis elemental energy
Many
and formed
people
hand
still
seals,
felt as if they were
attempting
dreaming,
to launch a
as
counterattack.
it was simply unreal.
Except she only
This
just
Lu
finished
Muyen
her
simply
Taoist
too
seal.
abnormal.
But the
With
fire
the cultivation
lotus
base
that
of an
Lu Muyen
advanced
had
phase
great
landed
landed
above
above
her
her
head.
She not only
Inua's
defeated
face
a tier
paled,
4
gritted
spirit
her
pet,
teeth,
but
poured
also
her
defeated
entire
Guyan
Buddhist
Ran,
elemental energy
who had
into her
advanced her
longsword
cultivation
and
base
struck
to
at the
advanced
fire
phase
lotus
swords
with
with
all
all
her
her
might.
might. A
It's
blue sword
unbelievable.
aura flew out like
But
a
since she
whirlwind,
forcibly
directly
advanced her
across the
cultivation
blooming
base,
fire lotus.
her strength
The
isn't
fire
as
lotus
powerful as
suddenly
an
split
actual
apart
advanced
after
phase
the sword
sword
aura
spirit
landed,
expert.
as if
So
it was
Guyan
defeated.
Ran's actual
Inua's
strength
pale
is
face
only
revealed an
middle-phase
arrogant
sword spirit.
smile. Her
Someone
E-clan
said
sword skills
unconvinced.
weren't something that
The
was
people
easy
next
to break,
to him knew that he was
but her
speaking
smile
the
had
truth.
yet to fully bloom.
But there were also some
before it
people who
froze on her
disagreed.
face.
But
The
that's
fire
still a
lotus
fight
that
had
crossed
split
levels,
didn't collapse,
to be able
nor
to battle a
merge,
sword
but
spirit
turned
as a
into
great
numerous
sword
bright
master
red petals
and come
that
out
peeled off
victorious.
the fire lotus.
I'm truly convinced
Scattering
by Lu
with a
Muyen.
majestic beauty from
I'm
the
also
air.
convinced.
At this time,
Echoes of agreement
everyone on the
resounded.
platforms were
This was
attracted by
precisely
the
the
gorgeous
world
and
where
dazzling
strength was
moves of
respected.
battle platform
In front
number
of strength,
26.
everything else
Even the
was
students
futile.
that were
Only
battling
with strength
unanimously
could one
stopped
obtain
their
respect.
fights, and
At this
collectively
time,
looked towards
even
the battle
those who were
platform
dissatisfied
together.
of, jealous
After
of,
Lu
envious
Muyen
of,
condensed the
or
blooming
hated
fire
Lu Muyen
lotuses,
wouldn't display their
most of the
disagreement
people
or
were shocked.
either.
When
On
the
the
lotus
seats of the
petals peeled
distinguished
off
guests,
and completely
Xiao
resisted
Ziong's
Inua's
mouth
sword
had dropped
aura,
wide open.
many people's
And it
jaws
took him
dropped,
a while to come to
staring
his
at the
senses.
platform in
He slapped
disbelief.
Lu Muting on
Lotus
the back
petals
again,
drifted
and
downwards,
said with an
but
excited,
didn't immediately
overstimulated
sink
voice,
into Inua's body.
Muting,
Instead,
your younger
they
sister
scattered
is
around her in
simply too
pieces.
fierce. When
I
she
was
swung
truly
her
pecked
sword
in
to
the eyes
destroy
by
the
an
attack,
eagle in the past
the petals suddenly
The closed
That's
in on
only
her
a matter
body,
of course.
spun around,
Can't you see
and
whose
lifted
little
the person
sister
off
she
the
is?
floor.
The
Lu
people on the
Muting
field
turned
were
his head with a
dumbfounded.
face of
How
pride
could
and
this be
smugness.
possible?
It looked as if it begged for a beating.
Fire elemental
Xiao Ziyang
energy
clicked his
condensation
tongue,
could change
then
state
turned
at
his
will.
head away.
Their eyes
Wishing
weren't
he
blurred
didn't
right.
know this Siscon
Slight
idiot.
horror rose on
Yin
Yua's
Lan
face.
looked at the purple
Her
figure
body
on
was
the
held
battle
up by the
platform with a
lotus
profound
petals.
look.
And
And
even
even
when
when
she
she
wanted
wanted
to
to
counter,
counter,
come
the
and read
elemental
on her
energy in
website
her
we shall
body
world
felt
site.
as if it was
Thanks
locked by
Qi
something
Xian's deep gaze
unable
had
to
Lu
use,
Muyan reflected
and
in
she
his
wasn't
eyes.
able to move
If
either.
one looked carefully,
the lotus petals
one
hovered
could
and
capture
flew,
that in the depths of
supporting
his
Yinua's
eyes there was
body
an
over the
additional
battle
determined
platform.
desire.
Everyone's
Lu
eyes
Muyan
moved
calmly
closely with
accepted the
Yinua's
only
body,
trial place in
and
the
they
Earth
couldn't
class.
think of what Lu
Her
Muyan
facing
wanted
things
to
with
do.
calmness
Lu
regardless of
Muyan
honor
smiled
or
slightly,
disgrace, made
stretched
many
out her right
superiors of
hand
the
and
empire
snapped her
highly
fingers.
of her.
Then the
And thought
falling
that it was
lotus petals
expected of
immediately
one from
turned
the
into
Lu
wisps
clan.
of fire that
Her
wrapped
manner
around
was
Yinua.
truly extraordinary.
Age. The piercing pain because went deep into her bones, unbelievable and performance couldn't today. Help but let out a shriek of pain. There were more people who desired everyone watching the battle pill. Saw Yunua's whole body, wrapped in a blinding red light, and the others all had their own convulsing and twitched within, but they were all optimistic about Lu Muyan's rise. After the grand competition, Lu Muyan read on our website the Academy World site, but instead returned to the general's mansion with her family. Coughed lightly. As soon as she got home, Lu Muyan and Lu Zhantian ordered the servants to prepare dinner and celebrate together. Put her down quickly. You could rightfully feel proud and elated today. I'm just letting her suffer a little. It won't harm her life. Lu Muyan's eyes flashed with for your big brother, and questioned the referee sharply. In to sit beside Has Lu she been beaten out of the battle saying with a face of smile? Did she take the initiative to give up? Her eyes at him with amusement. The referee replied with an unhappy expression. Is only natural. Lu Muyan smiled performance today truly opened our eyes, faintly carrying a sense of evil. Although the time you spent cultivating wasn't long, this competition isn't over yet. Condense your fire elemental energy condensation was controlled very well. Excited. So it wouldn't endanger little sister's talents, not at all. But the woman had to bear the burning pain of the fire energy. Even better, like scraping the bone marrow. Indifferent expression, of course, there would definitely be after softness. It was proud of his younger sister from the bottom of his heart to break through to the strength of a sword monarch in this life. If Inua just talked badly behind her back, after the family finished their dinner in a warm atmosphere, then she wouldn't do this today. Called them to the conference hall. During an outdoor training experience organized by the Academy that she had written from memory, under Gu Yan ran to them one by one. Today she discovered that the aura of the Gu father and daughter weren't right. Secretly drove the demonic clan definitely to attack wasn't her. Simple. She was bitten in numerous venomous snake that trampled and accidentally fell off a cliff. She must improve the Lu clan's. It was a miracle she was able to escape, at least to be able to protect themselves. It was just that the former Lu Muyan was afraid that Qi Xian would be involved in this matter. Forehead to read. So when her family found her, she only said that she accidentally after finishing the last demonic beasts. His expression of shock was to a degree that he had never displayed before. The E-clan and Inua would have long been taken care of. Where did you get this sword skill from? As if Inua could have been free for so long. Sword skill. Lu Muyan admitted that although she appeared in Yanzhou country before, she never took the initiative even in the entire Tianling continent. Only those super distinguished clans like those of Inua and possibly own one as their most valuable collection. The grudges they forged couldn't be described on her wrist that Ming Xiu gifted her. But the two girls constantly raised her eyes with a smile and said, "So don't blame her for being cruel. I believe that you've all already heard from eldest brother. Inua's miserable the last time I was injured by Gu Yan ran and fell unconscious. She screamed as she sobbed. I dreamt that I'd gone to another world. She had never experienced such pain. It felt as if I had experienced thousands of years anymore and learned many things for Lu Muyan amongst them." I also remembered a lot of manuals and sword skills. Snapped her fingers again. These 4 sky rank sword that enveloped was precisely something I obtained from that world. 4 wisps around her hands and feet. Sky rank sword skill? The tears in Inua's eyes streamed down wondered what the jade slip she bit her lower lip when his grandpa's expression changed, wanting to surrender. Now that he heard the two talk about sky rank sword skills. Uncomfortable. He placed the copy in his hand on his forehead. Today is just to repay the grievance that I experienced from you when you lured me into the group of demonic beasts. And after a while, they also displayed expressions that were practically the same as grandfather. If you dare provoke me again next time, the sword skills and the jade slips weren't only sky rank by numerous folds, but were also exceptionally suitable for their cultivation revenge against her enemy wasn't to let her die, their current manuals, but to let her live worse than death. It was practically like a tiger with added Yan's voice that wasn't quite loud nor soft. Some of those that felt that she was another way of him sarcastically understanding as expected so it was from because the Lu clan. Once tried to entrap part Lu between Gu Yongkai and no wonder she would use the sarcasm to punish her to Chinese mythology. The few people who had previously competed against Lu Muyan all layer is the lowest feeling a sense of lingering and the worst. It appeared that Lu Muyan was truly merciful towards them have seen how amazing luckily they didn't offend Lu Muyan. Side note, otherwise if they ended up like the tragic stage Inua was in right now, who couldn't beg to live, she was probably thousands of years old when she died in her previous life. About it made them feel and it probably wasn't an exaggeration when she said she was also shocked by the battle between the two. Why did I only realize how old she was now? Weren't in the same after my umpteenth time reading this, but they usually had a good relationship. I can't remember if the novel ever clarified it. They feared each other. I mean, it makes sense if she was. Because their strengths were rather similar. How old was Ming Xiu again? But right now Inua was trapped by Lu Muyan. No matter. And suffered inhumane torture. Age. It would be a lie if she said she wasn't guilty of anything. Certain acts she stared at Lu Muyan angrily. 5-H tiger is already very strong and dominated the land. The panic in her heart. So a tiger that had grown wings would be even stronger as it could conquer the sky. She didn't have to fear Lu Muyan at all. Remembering her trump card, she gradually stabilized her mind, and the hostility in her eyes grew thicker.
Chapter
She would
59,
definitely win,
become
partners. Who knew that Yenner would have such a fortuitous encounter? Chapter
Lu
51
lowered the jade
Grand
slip from his
competition
forehead,
foreseeing that
and
the
held
time
it
was
in his
almost
palm
up,
as he smiled
with
and
a thought.
continued to say,
Lu Muyen allowed
no
the
wonder
wisps
the
of
divine
flame
seer
that
would
entwined
foretell
around
that
Yua's
you would be
limbs
reborn
to slowly
after
leave her
experiencing
body,
a life or
while
death
in extreme
calamity,
pain,
obtain a
Yunhua
great
discovered
opportunity,
that she could suddenly
and
speak
even embark on
and
the path of
immediately
the
choked
strong
up because of
begging.
it.
Not only
admit
that,
defeat.
from this incident,
Hearing
Yenner
Yunhua
not only
stuttering,
gained a lot herself,
the referee on the
but
stage
even the Lu
instantly
clan
sighed
benefited
with
by
relief.
association.
Just as he was
The
about
Lu
to
clan's
announce
combat
Lu
power
Muyen's
will
victory,
rise to an even
he
higher
saw
level.
Lu Muyen gently
Lu
wave her
Zhantian
sleeve,
added,
and the
"I'm going to
condensed
study the
elemental
sword
energy
skill now."
flames that entangled
After reading the
Yunhua
contents of
threw
the
her
jade
out of
slip,
the battle platform,
Lu Muting
and
stood
let her
up with a
fall
look of
heavily onto the
comprehension.
ground. Then
Teacher
hurriedly
referee,
left the hall.
are you not going to
Returning
judge?
to his room to
Lu
cultivate.
Muyen raised her head
Lu
slightly
Zhantian
and looked at the
and
referee,
the other's eyes
asking.
also revealed
The
a dash
referee
of
on battle
eagerness.
platform number
The people of the
26
Lu
was
clan
taken
were
aback,
diligent in
then
cultivating
immediately
with
announced,
extraordinary talents.
the winner of the last
After
match
seeing
is
such
Lu
a sword
Muyen.
skill in front
He
of
was
them,
truly
if they
dissatisfied
didn't
by Lu
immediately go
Muyen's
study
actions
it,
before,
they'd feel restless.
but he gradually calmed
Lu
after
Muyen
hearing
smiled,
that she was
then
almost
took
killed.
out some more jade
Regardless
slips she had
of who,
prepared and handed
if they
them
were
to Lu
tricked like that,
Zhantian.
they'd also
Grandpa,
feel unfair
take
and
these
retaliate.
Earth-ranked manuals
Now it
and
also
see who in the
seemed that
Lu clan are
Lu Muyen
suitable
indeed
to
didn't
raise,
hurt Yua's
then
life,
give it to them,
and didn't break
the
the rules.
excitement and joy
So
on
it was
Lu
only
Zhantian's
natural she
face
won.
couldn't be
In
suppressed.
a world where the strong
He took
was
the jade
respected,
slips, read
as
them
long
all,
as one had
then
strength,
laughed aloud a
one
few
could
times.
win respect.
Good.
The fact that
It was
Lu
also
Muyen
time
won
for the Lu
Yunhua
clan
and could
to train
condense
a
fire
group of
attribute
high-level sword
elemental energy
masters
was
as their
considered
trump
strength.
cards in battle.
Even if she was once
Grandpa,
famous
father,
as trash,
eldest brother,
but after today,
you guys can go
her
to your
title
rooms
of
to
trash
study
would
it
be
now.
completely removed.
Lu Muyen saw
Wow.
how the usually
After the
calm
referee
and
announced
composed
the
three
result,
were unable to
the
sit
students
still,
in the audience
so she
couldn't
said
help
with
but
a smile,
start an uproar.
in her hands,
What did they see?
those sky-rank
Lu
sword
Muyen
skills
actually
weren't
used her
considered
condensed
high-level
fire
at all.
elemental energy.
She even had
to
saint rank
completely
and
defeat
deity rank
Yua's
one's
condensed sword
except
aura.
cultivation
The
should be
competition
gradual
just
and
now
orderly.
was like watching
With
a
the
beautiful
cultivation
performance.
base of the four people,
The blue petals,
more advanced
the delicate
sword
and
skills,
charming fire
or
lotus,
manuals weren't
the miserable
appropriate.
shrieks.
All right,
It all truly
the three nodded in
stimulated them.
unison.
I didn't
Lu
see wrong, did
Muyen
I?
stared at the
Is
backs
that
of the
person
three
really
that were
Lu
leaving,
Muyen?
and her
The
eyes were
classmate
dyed
who
with
watched
warmth.
Lu Muyen from
She
the
would
side
definitely
seats
make the
couldn't
Lu
help
clan
but push
stronger
the person
and stronger.
next to him.
She must
Still
protect the
unable to
family she
believe what he
cherished.
saw just now.
After returning
The person
to her room,
beside him also
she saw
rubbed
that the
his
little
eyes
white
and nodded
beast was on her
blankly.
bed, absorbing
That's
the
definitely
spiritual
Lu
force
Muyen,
of heaven
who
and
knew
earth,
that after she
and
eradicated
eradicated
her terminal
Slight
meridian's
surprise crossed her
constitution.
eyes. Such
Become
an
this
absorption
powerful.
speed was even
A
faster
trash
than
like
her
Lu
by a
Muyen
lot.
actually
This
defeated
spirit
Yunhua.
devourer
It's
that
simply
titled
unbelievable.
himself as this
Pure
king was
trash.
indeed from an
If Lu
extraordinary
Muyen's trash
origin.
now,
She
then
walked to the
even
table
worse than
opposite the
trash?
bed and sat down.
No wonder she
took
dared
out
to
the
promise a
spiritual
fight
tea
with
she
Guyen
received
ran.
from shopkeeper
With such
Lu
strength
that was in
she's
her
qualified to
interfacial
compete
ring
for the
and
last
brewed
spot
pot
in the Earth class.
together with Lu Muyen's
who do you
tea-making
guys think will
movements that
win?
flowed
Her
smoothly
or
like the
Guyen
clouds
ran?
in water.
I still
A scent
support
of aromatic
Guyen
tea
ran.
permeated
I'm
the
actually
entire
more
room.
optimistic about Lu Muyen now. I like her ruthlessness.
The spirit devourer.
It's better
that
for a
initially
woman
had
to
both
be as
eyes
gentle
closed,
as water
open
like
them,
Guyen ran.
Glanced at the woman who was drinking tea from her cup.
Who dares to want a
and
woman like Lu
telepathically said
Muyen?
with coldness in his
Tisk,
voice.
what's so good about
Let's
being
talk.
gentle like water?
The corners
It's better
of Lu
to be
Muyen's
wild.
lips raised
The
slightly in
students'
an arc.
discussion surged
She lifted
one
her
wave
eyes
after the
asked,
other.
You've
And
thought
although
it
it was
through?
unbelievable,
What does it matter
but
if I
seeing was
have or
believing.
haven't thought it through?
They all saw Lu
Did I have
Muyen's
any other
corrupt
strengths?
strength, and she
A
deserved their high
self-deprecating
regards.
voice sounded in
Some
Lu
people
Muyen's
that were
sea of
originally
consciousness,
optimistic about
and even the
Guyen
way
ran
he referred
in
to
regard
himself
their battle
changed from this
now
king
couldn't
to I.
help. It
But
seemed
seemed
that
their
he had come
balance
to
towards
understand
Lu
his
Muyen.
current unfortunate
stared with a
circumstances.
fierce desire at the
Muyen
gorgeous
nodded in
purple
approval.
figure on the battle
You
platform.
indeed had no other choice.
And that calm heart
Just
that had
what do you
settled
want?
started rippling.
Can I ask you a
as
few
if a
questions
stone had been
first?
thrown into a
Lu
calm
Muyen
deep
asked
pond.
instead and
And
avoided
that stone
answering.
was the woman
The
he
little
once
white
abandoned.
beast revealed a cold
Ha-ha.
look in his eyes that
Congratulations,
didn't match
Marshal.
his appearance.
Your family's little
After
girl
a
sure
moment
hid
of
herself
silence,
very
he
well.
replied,
Yin
Asked,
Tianchen
"What's
packed
your
away
name?
the emotions
Come
in his
and read
eyes,
on our website,
lifted his
Wuxia
head,
website,
and congratulated
Thanks,
Lu
Mo Yan.
Zhantian
Your
with a from another continent? I thank your majesty for the praise. An upper interface? My family's yin is naturally on the same interface. Lu Zhantian was in a very comfortable mood. You're not qualified to know this. And he was exceptionally delighted. Lu Muyan pursed her lips. His family's little girl had finally grown up and continued to ask. Come and read on our website. You were once really powerful? Thanks, I must have picked up a treasure who sat beside when I took you home after winning reluctantly. Lu Muyan had exceeded their expectations and didn't refute. It seemed she couldn't dominate a portion of the demonic realm. Yin Tianzong's expression was as dark as ink. Powerful. He and Gu Yuan Kai exchanged a secret look. That was only a matter of course. Both saw the killing intent in each other's eyes. chuckled upon seeing his look that evidently caused them headaches. That's only for granted. And now another Lu Muyan Maybe this demonic beast wasn't as cold and distant as she thought. How unexpected. I finished asking my question. Xiao Ziong stretched out his hand and pinched his arm.
Mo Yan's
immediately
eyes
let
were
go
cold,
in pain,
but there were
it
also
seemed
some
that what
hidden
he saw
emotions
just now
speak.
wasn't an illusion.
I won't think of you as a
Ting,
spirit
your
pet
younger
that
sister
ill-order
sure
around.
hid it all very
I
well.
feel that we can become
It's only
partners.
been a short while from
At
the
least
time
we have
she
the same
eradicated
goal,
her terminal
which is to keep
meridian's
growing stronger.
constitution and
After
started
asking those
cultivating
questions,
until now.
she felt as if she
to
had
think she
somewhat
could condense
understood
fire
Mo Yan,
elemental energy,
and it gave birth
what
to
an
a feeling of
abnormality.
connection due to
Xiao
their
Ziyang
similar
patted Lu Mu
circumstances.
Ting's shoulder.
They were both
then
once
glanced
almighty
at Lu
people
Mu
who
Bai in
stood
his
above the
peripheral
clouds.
vision.
Yet now they were
was like
reduced
elder
to the
brother,
weak,
at
like
the
younger
lowest end
sister
of the
one.
food chain.
My little
They
sister's
both had the
talent
heart
is
to
of
become
course exceptional,
exceptional,
and was
even
unwilling
ashamed
to
of
remain
mine
as
as
they
they
were.
were.
So
That
you
was
really
why she
don't
had
need
so
to be
much
jealous
patience
and
towards
envious.
Mo Yan.
Lu
The calm in
Ting's
Mo
lips
Yan's
raised.
eyes wavered,
Even
and his
he
cold
didn't
heart
expect
trembled.
that his
Partner?
younger sister would
Could he
become
believe it
so
again?
powerful in
As he
such a
met
short
Lu Mu
time.
Yan's firm and
So the
sincere
excitement
eyes.
couldn't be
Mo
calmed for
Yan
a long
suddenly
time.
had the urge to try.
Yin Lan's gaze
At the very
had been
least,
focused on
he
the
wouldn't be
calm,
losing anything,
purple figure
right?
on the battle
All
platform.
right. I'll
And there was
cooperate
an
with you.
inexpressible
But
joy
you
in
also
his
need
heart.
to help me find
The
some
worried look in
spiritual
Yin
herbs
Jin's
and
eyes was
spiritual
replaced
items
by surprise.
that can help me
He
restore
just
my
knew
strength.
that the girl wouldn't be defeated
As long
so
as he had
easily.
those things,
The
he would soon
self-confident
be
and
able to
indifferent
restore
temperament
part of his
attracted
strength.
his attention more and more. And she was even more interesting
Lu Mu
now.
Yan nodded and
Lu Mu
asked,
Bei's cold black
"Is it
eyes
difficult
were
for
dyed
you
with
to
a bright
regain
color,
your strength?"
and his lips
It
were
wasn't
slightly
easy
curled.
for her to regain
His
the
family's
strength
little
of her
girl
previous
hadn't
life.
even used her all yet.
Aside from the experience and the manuals
Lu
in her
Mo
sea
let
of
go of his
consciousness
tightly
she could
clenched
use.
hands.
She had
His
to do
treasured
everything
daughter
else
truly
from
acted
scratch.
upon what she
It
was
wasn't
determined
difficult
to
to
do.
cultivate again.
Hacking through
After
brambles
all,
and
the
thorns
experience
too.
was all there.
Taking a large
But the
step
spiritual
towards the
force
road
of
of
this
the strong.
interface was
I
relatively
remember
thin.
that the Lu clan's
So
little
it's
girl
difficult to
and
find
Gu
some
clan's little
spiritual
girl
herbs and
had
spiritual
promised
items,
a battle before the
and
grand
it may waste a
competition.
lot of time.
I wonder whole
Mo
obtained
Yan's
the
eyes
only
were
place
dyed
of
with
the
the
earth
cold
class.
pride and self-confidence.
The Prime Minister turned his head and
cultivators
glanced
lacked
at Lu
most definitely
Zhantian
wasn't
and Gu
time.
Yuankai,
4 demonic
as if
beasts
joking
like
around.
you with a long
Gu
lifespan.
Yuankai smiled
It only
softly
feels like
and
the time
replied
it
humbly.
took to snap a finger.
Although Yen Ran's talent
Lu Mu
isn't
Yan
bad,
remembered how eager
but it
she
really
was
is
to
hard
improve
to
in
predict
strength
the outcome
and
against the
laughed in
current young
ridicule
Miss
at
Lu.
herself.
However,
But
in
for
his
us
heart,
now,
he
time's
firmly
indeed
believed that his
precious.
daughter would win.
Mo Yan
After
found that
all,
he couldn't
that
understand
trump
this
card
woman
was
more
given
and
to her
more.
by him.
Why did a
Lu
15 or
Zhantian raised his
16-year-old
eyebrow
girl
with a look of
give
pride
people
and
a
said
sense of
naturally,
maturity?
Of
As
course,
if my
having gone
family's
through the
Yenner would
numerous
get the
vicissitudes
vicissitudes
of life.
His
The
granddaughter was
steadfast
the
heart
best.
of the strong
How
that
could
she
a small
possessed
thing
also
like
startled
Gu Yan
him,
compare to
and
his
an
family's
inexplicable
Yenner?
sense of
Hearing
sympathy
Lu
rose in him.
Zhantian's words,
"You're right."
the surrounding
Mo
officials
Yan nodded in
couldn't help
agreement,
but twitch the corners
precisely
of their
because
mouths.
he desperately
This
wanted
old
to
thing
restore
sure
his
wasn't
strength.
humble.
He
If
kept
Lu Mu Yan
cultivating
was
at every
defeated by
breath.
Gu Yan Ran
What
afterwards,
spiritual herbs or
they'll see where
spiritual
help
items
placed
do
that
you
old
need?
face of his
Give
three.
me a list.
A cloud of haze
Mo
quickly
Yan's
crossed
improvement
Gu
in
Yuankai's
strength was
eyes.
also beneficial
This
for
damned
her.
old man truly
So she hoped to
big.
find the things
So what
he
if Lu Mu
required to
Yan
restore
defeated
his
Yin
strength
as
in
quickly
front
as
of his
possible?
daughter? She would
The
always be
guardedness
foiled.
in Mo Yan's
Had
eyes
just
waited
wait
a lot,
and watch when
since
Lu
he decided to
Zhantian slapped
cooperate.
his own face
Then
for.
might as well believe
After
one
that,
more time.
Lu Mu Yan
He
and
hoped
Gu
that
Yan
this
Ran
human wouldn't
continued to draw
disappoint him.
lots and compete.
He used his
But
demonic sense to
coincidentally, they weren't
telepathically
paired up.
transmit to
After
Lu Mu
4
Yan
more
the
rounds,
several kinds of
both
spiritual
of them
herbs
defeated
that
their
he needed
opponents
right now
and advanced to
Although
the
I
finals.
used my secret
And
skill
this
to
time,
be reborn,
even if there
but I
wasn't
still
any
have to
promised
start
battle,
over.
the
The
current
two
most
people who
urgent
were like
thing is to
water and
reestablish
fire
my Yafu.
would inevitably meet
Spiritual
and
items weren't
participate in the
required
final
right now.
competition.
But I hope you can help me
for the
find
only
trial
frozen
quota
quota
for the Earth class,
which I'll use to
after
advance
resting
the level
for
of
nearly
my
an
Yafu.
hour. The
Every
heaven-class
demonic
battle
beast
also
with a
came to an
demonic
end.
sense and bore
Qi
wisdom
Xian lived up
would
to the
experience the
expectations
process of
and won the
establishing a
first
Yafu.
place in the heaven
The higher
class
the level
between
of
the
the
new
Yafu,
students,
the
and
better the
directly
talent
received
in
a place
cultivation
in
in
the
the
trials.
future.
Because
And
of the
speed
larger number of
cultivation
people
would
in
also
the
be
Earth
much
class.
faster.
When
The
Lu
level
Mu
of
Yan
the
and Gu
Yafu
Yan
also
began their
determined the
final
quality
battle,
of the demonic
the
core they would
competitions
form
in
in
the
the
surrounding
future.
battle
So
platforms
it was
had all
exceptionally
ended.
important
But
for
none
a
of the
demonic
students
beast.
left after the
Frozen
battle as
Miss
they all
Grass.
sat in the
Lu
audience
Mu Yan
seats,
muttered,
eagerly
she
waiting.
took a sip of tea from her cup and agreed readily. The final trial quota. The former number one trash of the academy and the frozen mist grass both grew in the glacial mountain judged by them. It just so happened she needed to find the deep amongst the new students. So why wouldn't she help with something that was just on the way? 2 idiom meaning to go though many difficulties. 3 if she loses, he'll naturally lose face. So it's a play on words. After 2 days, she lost. Lu Muyan followed forward to his reaction after the Imperial Academy. In the most ancient hall of the academy, Principal Ruan Li and several other instructors were already seated. On the only battle platform currently in use, Mu Bai Muyan Yu both stood with indifference and calmness. Ruan Li said with a gentle smile on his face her with a sigh and gestured for them to take a seat. In this world, after the cultivators were all called sword masters, sat properly upright, so naturally, and looked at the 11 people seriously. The spirit tools they used were related to the sword. Bringing you all here today, the colors of the swords with different attributes were also different. For example,
the trial after
Guyan
this
Ran
grand
held a
competition
cyan longsword,
is something different from what
the
occurs
elemental
after
energy
the grand competition
in previous
the wind
years,
attribute,
and was
Lu
exceptionally
Muyan had a
important.
longsword before,
Wanli emphasized,
but it wasn't suitable for
you
her.
should all know that
So she
Yinzhou
wanted to
Kingdom
refine
isn't
her
the
own
only
natal
kingdom
magic
on
treasure
Tianlin continent.
after reaching
There
foundation
are also
establishment
thousands,
stage.
even tens of
If she
thousands
was
of
given a
large and
choice,
small kingdoms,
then she would definitely
but aside
only
from these
choose the
kingdoms,
one that suited
there
her
are
best.
also super
If it
distinguished
wasn't to her
clans and
liking,
sects that
then
control
she'd rather
and
fight with
distribute
bare
the
hands.
resources on this
Lu
continent.
Muyan, even
The
if
most
you aren't
powerful
trash,
entities on
he'll
this
still defeat
continent
you
are the
today.
6 great sects.
Guyan Ran
The
wore
10
pink
distinguished
clothes
spirit sword
with a
clans of
deliberate
the eastern
expression of
region
softness and
is
beauty,
in fact only at
but
the
the
very
hidden
bottom of
cruelty
the
in her eyes
continent's
destroyed the
distinguished
gracefulness
clans.
and softness
Gasp.
quite a bit.
The 11
Lu
people
Muyan
present could
sneered.
all be regarded
Winning
as
or
those
losing
favored by
isn't
the
determined
heavens,
by talking
but
about
after
it.
hearing this
Inua
news,
screamed louder
some
than
still
you,
couldn't
but
help
what ending
but be
did she
stumped
have?
for words.
I'm
The
different
eastern
from
region
Inua,
ranks last
seeing
among
Lu
the 4
Muyan's
major
indifferent
regions
look
in
that
terms of
didn't
overall
regard her
strength.
highly.
So our
Guyan
Yinzhou
Ran
Kingdom
wanted
desperately
desperately
to go up and tear
existence
apart that face that was more beautiful than hers.
You
Wanli
two are
paused,
indeed
then
different,
spoke with gravity.
so the gift I'll give
and
you
although
won't be
you're
worse
all
than
the most
Inua's.
outstanding figures
Lu
amongst the
Muyan
younger
chuckled
generation
softly,
of Yinzhou
and her
Kingdom,
beautiful eyes
and
revealed
could
a
be
sense of
regarded as the
anticipation.
Empire's geniuses
It had been a
amongst
long
this
time since
generation,
she had a good fight,
but compared to the
she
similar
hoped
age
Guyan
sword
Ran wouldn't
masters
let her
of other
down.
larger countries.
Guyan Ran clenched
guys
the
don't
long
count
sword
for
in her
much.
hand tighter,
And in fact,
but she
is
deliberately
also at the
spoke
very
with
bottom.
tenderness,
It's
pretending
not to
to be
say that your
generous,
natural
saying,
endowments are
Lu
worse than
Muyan,
them.
I
But
didn't
you
want
fall
to hurt
short
you,
on the
but you
resources
forced me
that
today.
you're provided with
You can
compared
stop
to theirs
being
by a
noisy
great
with
amount.
that disgustingly
That's why I
sweet
hope
voice.
you guys are fair to
If you want to
yourselves
fight,
and not be
then let's
disheartened.
fight. If
You'll
you don't
only
want to
be able
fight,
to
then
improve
get lost.
if you attempt to pursue
It wasn't that
those
Lu
that are
Muyan
stronger
didn't
than
like
yourselves.
delicate and beautiful
There
women.
was encouragement in
But she really
Rian
couldn't
eyes.
appreciate
Principal,
Guyan Ran's fake
you explaining
delicateness.
all these things
You're
about the
courting
continent
death
to us.
Guyan Ran
Is
no
there any
longer
special
pretended.
meaning to it?
Against such
A
a
young
person
man
like
of
Lu
around
Muyan
20
who
amongst
didn't play
the
by the
11
rules,
students asked
nor
with
understood
confusion
what
and worry.
gentleness was.
Every 20
Guyan
years
Ran
there
was
will be a
also
continental
helpless.
tournament
It
for
was like
hegemony
punching
1.
cotton.
She
And
just
next
wanted
year
to
was
vent even
precisely
more.
the beginning of the
Guyan
new
Ran's
round of the
cultivation
tournament
base
for hegemony.
was already at
All
peak
the countries
phase
in the
great sword
4
master
major regions
stage.
are given quotas.
With one fortuitous
and our Yinzhou
opportunity,
Kingdom
she
also
could break through
received
to
6
sword
places.
spirit.
In addition, her talent was indeed superior.
Seeing the various
That's why she
expressions
was
amongst
called the
the
number
11
one
people,
person in the
with
Earth
some
class.
even secretly
She
hiding
channeled
some worry.
wind attribute
Wanli
elemental
continued.
energy to her foot.
These 6
and her
places
body
were the total number
lightened,
of places given
using
to
the
Yinzhou
wind
Kingdom,
attribute.
and
She
isn't
flew
to be
into the
chosen
air
amongst
and
only you
looked down
guys.
at Lu Muyan.
The pupils of the Imperial family and Yinzhou Kingdom's other distinguished clans will also participate in the trial this time, and the 6 people participating in the continental tournament for hegemony will be chosen amongst all of you. Then doesn't that mean we all have a chance, but vice versa? It was also possible none of us will be chosen. Another young woman asked anxiously. She was the winner of the senior student competition of the Earth class, but her strength was already relatively weaker than the rest. If they had to compete with the Imperial family to obtain a spot, then there was very little hope. That's only natural. The trial this time is basically an indirect selection trial. You must all take this seriously and cherish this opportunity. He didn't want to give a complete blow to the students' confidence, so added comforting. Each one of you has a chance. Don't be discouraged. It isn't impossible for you to have a fortuitous encounter during the trial and soar high into the sky too. After hearing Wanli's words, the students' eyes that were dim from being disheartened lit up. That's right. They already rose above others during the grand competition. Who knew who'd win one of the 6 places in the future? On the other hand, Lu Muyan and Lu Mubai didn't reveal much emotion. Their eyes remained indifferent throughout, which made the superiors of the academy think highly of them again. Qi Yixian's expression was also rather calm, and the ripples in his eyes had been concealed. Amongst the 11 people, he was also one of the students that Wanli and the other superiors were very optimistic about. Principal, are there any benefits in participating in the trial and obtaining a place in the continental tournament for hegemony? A heaven-class student named Fu Chen, whose strength was second to Lu Mubai, asked. The result of the continental tournament for hegemony directly affected the allocation of the continent's resources in the future 20 years. If you could advance to the top 100, then Yinzhou Kingdom would be allocated even more resources. Wanli didn't conceal anything and continued to say, if you receive a good result, the Empire will also gift you generous rewards. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Seeing the student's bright eyes, he added with a smile. However, the most precious aspect for the players of the continental tournament for hegemony aren't the rewards from the empire, but instead, the chance to join Tianling continent's 6 great sects. That was the most tempting. What? We can actually join the 6 great sects. Among the 11 people, a person with a rather deep solid background, Jihan Su, couldn't help but exclaim. In his clan's secret manual, there were more or less some records on the structure of Tianling continent, and within, there were records of the most superior forces, the 6 great sects. Even if one had excelling natural endowments, wanting to join the sects were as hard as ascending to the heavens. Who knew that the grand competition this time was actually linked to the 6 great sects? The 6 great sects' origins flows back long into the distant past, and their foundation and background was something that other distinguished clans and empires can't compare to. All the disciples beneath them have extraordinary talents. Meanwhile, the continental tournament for hegemony was precisely one of their ways of gathering excelling disciples. After all, to be able to excel and distinguish oneself in the top 100, above the tens of thousands of talented seeded players, they were definitely worthy of raising. Yuanli stroked his beard as he explained. Everyone desired that their own kingdom's seeded players could enter into the top 100 and receive the welcome token from the 6 great sects. Lu Muyan caught on to the yearning in Yuanli's eyes, then raised an eyebrow and asked, Principal, then within all the previous continental tournament for hegemonies, did our Yanzhou kingdom have any seeded players enter into the top 100? Yuanli didn't think that Lu Muyan would ask such an incisive question, was fazed for a moment, then smiled in embarrassment. None. She guessed that was how it was, paused, then asked. Then the best result is? Cough cough. Seeing that everyone was staring at him, Yuanli coughed dryly. The best result is at 2,100. Isn't the principal just cheating people? The best result was only at 2,100. Then how much of a chance did they have to advance to the top 100? However, Lu Muyan's eyes revealed fiery flames. The more challenging something was, the more interesting it was, and the more interested she was in it. Her lips rose and said domineeringly and confidently, The individual's effort is the decisive factor. Humans will definitely triumph over the heavens 3. Let's create a legend of Yanzhou Kingdom. Good. Ambitious. Hearing Lu Muyan's passionate words, Yuanli couldn't resist slamming his palm down on the table. You should all participate in the selection trial with such an attitude. I hope that in the continental tournament of hegemony this time, there'll be someone amongst you guys who'll successfully obtain the welcome token from one of the 6 great sects. Except for Lu Mubai and Qi Xian, the others' foreheads were filled with deep creases as they furrowed their brows. Wasn't Lu Muyan a bit too arrogant? As the winner of the freshman Earth class, she couldn't even compare to them. So how could she create Yanzhou Kingdom's legend? Was it really fine for the principal to be agreeing so blindly? But it was undeniable that, after hearing Lu Muyan's words, a passionate desire and motivation couldn't help but rise in their hearts, and they began to look forward to the upcoming selection trial. Qi Xian looked deeply at Lu Muyan that glowed with pride and vigor. Right now, there was some sort of charm that exuded from her which constantly made people inadvertently convinced. That sort of domineering, unbridled, and bold temperament made his heart ceaselessly turbulent and be infatuated with her. It was more and more impossible to retrieve his gaze upon her, and he only desired to hide her away, letting her shine bright only for him. That translation should be fine. If I think of a better way to translate, I'll update it. 2. Rise up and become stronger because of the encounter. 3. Whatever happens isn't up to others to decide but themselves, and they will definitely triumph over any obstacle. Note: changed Yanzhou country to Yanzhou Kingdom. It's probably a really irrelevant change, but I felt kingdom suited better, lol. Note: so it's been a while since Qihua continent had been mentioned. I feel like it was a typo by the author. I'll translate a bit more to see. If it was, I'll go back to correct the 2 times that Qihua continent had been mentioned into Tianling continent. Chapter 61. the grand competition's bonus rewards. After Wan Li explained the situation, he introduced them to the instructor, who would lead them in the trial. In this trial, the academy will send 3 instructors to lead the team, namely Lan Si, Ji Xian and Hu Fei. Wan Li pointed to the 3 people beside him and introduced them one by one. The 11 people nodded in greeting. The fact that the academy sent Lan Si as the team's head instructor meant they really attached great importance to the selection trial. In the next month, we're very happy to be your team's lead instructors. On Lan Si's gentle, handsome face was a smile like the spring breeze. Then he blinked at the several people playfully. But we won't go easy on you guys. The several people were mesmerized by Lan Si's gentle smile, and they were very grateful that he was the head instructor this time. Lu Muyen, however, weighed him out in her heart. Lan Si definitely wasn't as gentle as he appeared on the surface. This person was wearing a mask. Principal, where are we going for the trial? Lu Mubai asked. When faced with Lu Mubai, Wan Li's attitude was extremely nice. This time, the trial site set in the glacial mountain range. Aside for the 2 trial teams of Yanzhou Kingdom, the 10 distinguished clans of the eastern region also have their own trials in the glacial mountain range. They're participating in the selection trials with us? Lu Mubei's eyes revealed slight surprise. No, their trial standards and criteria are even harder than yours, but it's inevitable that your 2 parties will meet. At that time, keep a low profile and don't cause trouble. Wan Li said seriously. Even the Empire's Imperial family didn't dare provoke the core children of the 10 distinguished clans. Then is the trial team selected by the Empire's Imperial family going with us? A student asked. Wan Li nodded. Of course. Your 2 teams have to compete for those 6 spots together. For the sake of fairness, all trial missions are the same. Can we form an alliance with each other? Fu Chen thought for a bit then asked. No matter what methods you use, as long as it doesn't endanger the lives of the people who participate in the trials together, then it's fine. Wan Li took a sip of tea and cautioned them. There were once 2 teams who participated in the trials that worked together at the beginning to deal with another team. So you must be careful. Of course, you'd all have to work together in the beginning, otherwise what awaits is only elimination. Then Wan Li answered the questions of a few other students. Seeing that they had spent quite some time here, he knocked his finger on the desk and said, It's getting late. You should all go back and rest first. Report to the academy after 3 days. The 3 instructors will lead you to the glacial mountain range to join the Imperial team. Yes, Principal. The 11 people stood up and prepared to leave. Except the moment Lu Muyen turned around, she heard Wan Li's telepathic voice. Come find me later. Lu Muyen's steps paused. Although she didn't know why the principal looked for her, but she nodded slightly to indicate that she knew. After leaving the hall together, Qi Yixian walked to Lu Muyen, and his eyes were softer than ever. Muyen, let's team up during the trial. No need. Lu Muyen was a little surprised by Qi Yixian's attitude, but didn't want to have anything to do with him. So she refused without hesitation. Qi Yixian's brows furrowed together. He initially thought that after making such a request, Lu Muyen would be very happy like usual, and would agree. But he didn't expect to be rejected. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, a sudden panic rose in his heart. Something felt like it had changed. He could potentially be losing something important, but he couldn't catch on to what this inexplicable feeling was. You'd be safer with me. Although he was dissatisfied by Lu Muyen's refusal, but he urgently wanted to bound himself with Lu Muyen from the bottom of his heart. So he said with a stiff expression, holding back his feelings. Lu Mubei's indifferent eyes were dyed with slight unhappiness. He stood in front of Lu Muyen and blocked Qi Yixian's vision, speaking neither heavily nor lightly. My little sister naturally has my protection, so I won't bother Sir Qi. After he finished speaking, he didn't care about Qi Yixian's reaction and pulled Lu Muyen to leave. When his younger sister loved Qi Yixian so deeply that she would even die for him, that man didn't cherish it. Now that he discovered how good his treasured younger sister was, he wanted her back. Humph, how could there be such a convenient thing? Lu Muyan casually glanced at Qi Yixian, whose face was half stiff and blue. Her lips raised into a very shallow arc, and she passed him with her eldest brother. Qi Yixian stared at the backs of the brother and sister leaving, face dark and gaze obscure. Who knew what he was thinking? Big brother. The principal told me telepathically to go and find him just now. After walking for a while, Lu Muyan grabbed Lu Mubei's arm and said. Lu Mubei didn't know why the principal wanted to find his younger sister. But it wouldn't be something bad. You can go. I'll wait for you in the small building where you live to go home together. All right. When Lu Muyan returned to the hall again, there were only the two brothers, Wan Li and Wan Yang, sitting on the main seats. Principal, did you need me for something? Lu Muyan walked in front of the two and asked with a smile. Indeed. Wan Li took out 2 brocade boxes from his interspatial ring, handed them to Lu Muyan and said, These 2 things are the prizes for the winner of the Earth class. Do you like it? Lu Muyan didn't expect the academy to give her bonus rewards, but she wasn't ceremonious either, and opened the box in front of the two. The inner layer of the first box was made of millennial profound ice, and within there was what appeared to be an aged 7-leaf ginseng. A hint of joy flashed past Lu Muyan's eyes. She truly was lucky this time. One of the 3 main ingredients for the Foundation Establishment pill, the purple monkey flower, had already been won by her from the last auction, and now she obtained the 7-leaf ginseng. Meanwhile, she could take advantage of the trial this time to find the deep orchid. She believed that it wouldn't take long before she could gather and refine the spiritual herbs required for the Foundation Establishment pill. Once she advanced to the Foundation Establishment stage, her strength would greatly improve, and she'd have more confidence for the Continental Tournament for Hegemony. Lu Muyan's eyes were as bright as the stars, and she clenched her hands into fists tightly, thinking about how she must refine the Foundation Establishment pill before the Continental Tournament for Hegemony. She closed the box containing the 7-leaf ginseng, then opened the other box. Inside was a scarlet gold whip. On the whip, there were faint fluctuations of spiritual energy, indicating that it was a middle-quality spirit treasure. I obtained this long whip by accident. I found that you didn't like using swords too much, so I thought to gift this to you. Alchemist Wan Yang, who sat next to Wan Li, explained in a good mood upon seeing Lu Muyan's dazed expression when seeing the long whip. Lu Muyan closed the brocade box, thought a moment, then smiled and said, I thank Principal and Alchemist Wan for your kindness. Muyan accepts. I do indeed need the 7-leaf ginseng, so I will accept. But forgive me as I dare not take this long whip. She really did like this scarlet gold whip, but she shouldn't accept a reward when it wasn't deserved. She felt that it wasn't so simple for Wan Yang to gift her this spirit treasure. Wan Yang didn't expect Lu Muyan to reject such benefits. His desire to accept her as his disciple grew even stronger, and a more sincere smile rose on his face. This spirit treasure is a gift for you. Why, do you not like it? Chapter 62. The Ling family's matter. Lu Muyan had a wealth of experience, and she was very accurate in her analysis of a person. She knew that Wan Yang wasn't a scheming person, and was instead upright, so she didn't want to speak in circles. Elder Yang, it's not that I don't like this magic treasure, but I did nothing to deserve this reward. Why don't you speak directly of the purpose of finding me today? She could tell that the main person that looked for her today was Wan Yang. Haha, straightforward. Wan Li liked to deal with straightforward people. He stroked his red beard with a look as if he was thirsting for water. Lu girl, you're born to be an alchemist with such skillful use of fire elemental energy. Are you interested in becoming a disciple of mine? As long as you become my disciple, I'll definitely do my best to teach you, and you can use the resources of the academy as you wish. In order to be able to keep the good seedling, Wan Yang added, the resources of the academy could be used by her as she wishes? The corners of Wan Li's mouth twitched. He knew just how ruthless this girl was in terms of cheating people of their things. Lu Muyan didn't expect that Wan Yang actually wanted to take her in as a disciple. She put away the surprise in her heart, then politely refused. Apologies, Elder Yang. I have already accepted a senior as my master in the blazing mountain range. And without his permission, I dare not become a disciple of another person. Her alchemy attainments were probably pretty well matched with even the best alchemists on Tianling continent. She also owned countless peerless pill recipes, so Huan Yang couldn't teach her anything. Not to mention, her aspirations didn't end at Yinzhou Kingdom, so it was even more impossible for her to recognize Huan Yang as her master. In that case, I won't force it. Huan Yang revealed some disappointment, but after thinking about it, he smiled and said, "You like this spirit treasure, but you don't want to take it for no reason. Then how about we make a deal?" "What deal?" Lu Muyan asked. "How about you give me 2 of your energy-nourishing pills?" Last time, the energy-nourishing pills that Lu Muyan gave Yin Tianshun were given to the enshrined alchemist of the Imperial family to research, but Huan Yang was itching with interest, so even though he couldn't gain a disciple, he thought to exchange 2 pills to research. Of course, it wasn't that he didn't want the marrow-cleansing pill, but a middle-grade spirit treasure's value simply couldn't be compared to the marrow-cleansing pill's value, and he didn't want to be forceful even more. When Lu Muyan's master appeared, then he would pay him a personal visit to discuss the matter. Lu Muyan nodded, and directly took out a bottle of energy-nourishing pills to hand over. When Wanli took the energy-nourishing pills, she unceremoniously put away the scarlet gold whip. Before she could refine her own natal magic treasure, this long whip was the only spirit treasure that caught her eyes. In this deal she profited. After extracting some more information about the continental tournament for hegemony from Wanli, and then chatting a little more with the two, Lu Muyan left the hall with a bright smile. After she left completely, Wanli played with the teacup in his hand and said, "What do you think of this girl?" "Not bad. She's a wonderful mold that could be sculpted one. But with her talent, I'm afraid that she wouldn't be limited within Yinzhou Kingdom's skies and land. The outside world was more suitable for her," Huan Yang said after pausing for a moment. While his temper was straightforward, he wasn't stupid. The little girl of the Lu clan wasn't simple at all. I have a feeling that she'd be able to stand out in the selection trial this time." Wanli stared at the door not far away, with a look of expectation in his eyes. "Let's wait and see." Huan Yang nodded. He was also slightly anticipating Lu Muyan's performance in the selection trial. The moment Lu Muyan and Lu Mubai arrived back home, they were welcomed by a beautiful married woman. "Yenner." The beautiful married woman walked quickly towards Lu Muyan and pulled her into an embrace, her eyes layered with a thin mist. "Mother." Lu Muyan felt the other party's body temperature, and her heart trembled, a warmth rising in her smile. Ling Yu Xian quickly wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and checked her daughter all around. This time, as an issue had popped up, she returned to her natal home. But who would have thought that she missed her daughter's growth? She truly felt regretful. Yenner truly has grown up. Lu Muyan felt that her mother was very strong on the outside, but the moment she was in front of her, it was as if she had turned into water too. She couldn't bear the teary eyes, and cast a look at Lu Mubai beside her for help. "Come and read on our website Wuxia World site." Thanks. Lu Mubai chuckled gently, looked at Ling Yu Xian softly and said, "Mother, what's going on at maternal grandfather's house?" Speaking of her natal home, Ling Yu Xin's arched eyebrows furrowed and sighed. "Your maternal grandfather was injured, but now he's recovered a lot. It's just that the Shui clan is truly pushing it too far. They actually cooperated with the Morong clan to suppress the Ling clan." A layer of ice formed in her eyes. The Shui clan's youngest daughter's very talented. "I heard that she'll be admitted to a sect after participating in the tournament for hegemony, and also used that to personally come and annul the engagement with Fei Yang." Maternal grandpa was injured? Fei Yang's engagement was also annulled? A killing intent flashed past Lu Mubei's eyes. "Yeah. Your maternal grandfather was injured by a high-level sword monarch some time ago. He hid it before because he's afraid that you'd all be worried." Fei Yang hadn't left his house ever since that incident. If Shui Ling wanted to sincerely annul the engagement before, the Ling clan wouldn't force the engagement either. But this she was slapping the Ling clan's face on purpose, in public, by coming with so many people to do so. Fei Yang, that child, has always been sensitive, and even if he always has a smile, I'm afraid that he's feeling extremely unhappy inside. When Ling Yuxian thought of her nephew, she felt extremely sad. In Lu Muyan's memory, her maternal grandpa was a very loving and kind elder. Even if she was trash, he didn't dislike her and loved her very much. Ling Fei Yang was her elder cousin, and different to Lu Mu Bei's indifference and serenity, his temperament was gentle from the inside to the outside, and also treated her extremely well. As far as she knew, the Ling clan was one of the 10 distinguished spirit sword clans, and previously, their clan's strength could rank in the top 5. But 10 years ago, her genius maternal uncle that once shocked and amazed the entire Tianling continent disappeared when exploring a secret realm, and hadn't returned since. His life or death was unknown. The sword sovereign ancestor of the Ling clan was in life or death seclusion, and hadn't appeared in more than 20 years. No one knew if he had advanced or not. 6 years ago, her cousin Ling Fei Yang was seriously injured because he offended a devil cultivator for Xueling. What's more, his legs were poisoned and became immovable due to that incident. The Ling clan that was already experiencing frost being added to Snow 3 was then jointly suppressed by the Morong clan and the Xang clan, who had risen to power after the Ling clan. Now they were backstabbed by the Shui clan, that always had a good relationship with the Ling clan. The clan's strength had greatly decreased, and was now barely at the end of the ranking of the 10 distinguished clans. Annulling the engagement with such an ungrateful woman is good. Lu Mu Bai sneered. When his younger cousin acted to protect Xueling that time, it was because she was his fiancée. Who knew that that woman would be this snobbish? It didn't matter that she didn't remember the kindness, yet now she dropped stones onto someone who had fallen into a well for. It was truly despicable. Lu Muyan pursed her lips, and a layer of cold light overflowed from the depths of her eyes. Morong clan, Xang clan and the Shui clan, she noted them down. Mother, elder cousin still can't move his legs now. Lu Muyan remembered that Ling Fei Yang was also a proud child favored by the heavens. However, now that he couldn't walk, they didn't know whether her eldest maternal uncle was alive or not. And with the Ling clan in such danger, he must be feeling extreme pressure. Yeah, the poison in his body couldn't be cured even after inviting numerous alchemists and physicians. That devil cultivator's also dead. Who knows how much more torture Fei Yang that child must endure. Ling Yuzin's eyes were full of worry. Since her eldest brother disappeared, her nephew appeared to have changed into a completely different person. When she met him this time, his temperament was especially indifferent. The flamboyant brilliance that he used to carry had long disappeared. Lu Muyan took Ling Yuzin's hand and comforted her. Mother, don't worry. Everything will all get better. It seemed that after the selection trial was over, she was bound to pay a visit to the Ling clan. As for that Xueling who personally came to annul the engagement, hence slapping their faces, she believed that they would definitely meet in the glacial mountain range this time. Xueling wanted to participate in the continental tournament for hegemony and obtain the qualifications to enter a sect? Humph, as long as she was there, she'd surely let that woman lose more than her gains, pound her into the dust, and make her life worse than death. One like diamond in the rough. Too weak, fragile, gentle, pure etc. 3 idiom meaning to make things even word, equivalent to add insult to injury. For idiom meaning to hit a person when they're already down. Make matters worse for them. Chapter 63. Express goodwill. 3 days later, the team outside the Imperial capital that rode on tailwind horses galloped towards the south. As it was an urgent event, the Imperial Academy asked the Imperial family for around a dozen tailwind horses for the students participating in the trial to ride to the glacial mountain range. The leader of the group was precisely Lan Si in blue brocade. After a day's journey, when night fell, they booked a room to rest at an inn in a remote town. After bathing, Lu Muyan went downstairs to dine with the others. When Lan Si saw her come downstairs, he patted the seat next to him, smiled and said, Lu Muyen, come and sit. Lu Muyen was a little surprised by Lan Si's attitude towards her. But she didn't reject, walked over, and sat down naturally, then nodded and greeted the three instructors. Teacher Lan, Teacher Ji, Teacher Hu. Then some students came downstairs one after another. Lu Mubai walked straight towards Lu Muyen and sat down beside her. Fu Chen and Ji Han Su also sat down in the remaining seats of the same table. The other people sat at the two tables beside them, but the gazes of a few people that looked towards Lu Muyen weren't very kind. Especially the senior Earth class female student, who carried deep jealousy in her eyes. A person's position in a setting sometimes displayed the degree of attention they received, and how highly they were thought of. Even if Lu Muyen wasn't a trash now, she was only the winner of the freshman Earth class. So what qualifications did she have to sit at that table? But because of the instructors and Lu Mubai, she only dared to feel upset inwardly, and didn't dare to voice her objections aloud. Lu Muyen, Ji Xian and I need to thank you. Lan Si flipped over a teacup, poured a cup of tea, and looked at Lu Muyen with a smile in his eyes. Lu Muyen raised her eyebrow and asked, I don't remember when I ever had an interaction with Teacher Lan and Teacher Ji? She narrowed her eyes, wondering just what this fox one wanted to do. Actually, it's not that big a deal. It's just that us instructors made a bet before the grand competition, betting on who would obtain the only place in the freshman Earth class between you and Gu Yanran. Ji Xian and I bet on you, and in the end we won. Lan Si's handsome, pretty face revealed a smile that made people feel uncontrollably drawn to. Yeah, the stakes are small, but whether we win or lose impacts our face, which is significant. You've definitely given us a lot of face. Ji Xian's beautiful face revealed a dazzling brightness. She had a good impression of Lu Muyen. Lu Muyen looked at the two teachers, who appeared as if they feared that there wasn't enough chaos in the world, with a headache. Didn't they realize that Hu Fei's dark face was about to turn into ink too? Without even needing to think about it, one could guess that Hu Fei definitely bet that Gu Yanran would win. What these two were doing was the typical case of pulling aggro 3 for her. Then I'm really honored. But since teachers won the bet because of me, then shouldn't it be those who see have a share for? Lu Muyen smiled, as if saying if you don't give anything to me, you're not generous or sincere. She discovered that Lan Si and Ji Xian were very friendly towards her. While even though the old man named Hu Fei tried hard to hide it, she caught on to his dislike for her. Hu Fei didn't like her, so naturally she wouldn't save face for him either. Not to mention, she even felt killing intent on Hu Fei from time to time, so she was a little more cautious against him. It's a pity that we sold all the things we bet on. Lan Si chuckled, thought about it, then took out a few wooden boxes from his interspatial ring, and threw them to Lu Muyen. There are a few spiritual herbs inside. Take it as a meeting gift. Lu Muyen took the box unceremoniously, but didn't open it, and instead put it away. Thank you, Teacher Lan. Ji Xian also preferred such straightforward people. She took out a tourmaline bracelet and handed it to Lu Muyen, saying with a smile, This bracelet is for you. Lu Muyen didn't feign modesty either, reached out her hand, and took the bracelet. With one touch, she discovered the mystery within it. It was a high-quality spirit tool. Although the quality wasn't high, but within each tourmaline, there contained a special energy, which could help an alchemist reduce the consumption of mental energy when refining pills. It was indeed very useful. Thank you, Teacher Ji. Lu Muyen slid the bracelet onto her wrist then and there. The fact that Ji Xian gave her this bracelet meant that they knew of her identity as an alchemist already. They were expressing goodwill towards her. She had a good impression of Lan Si and Ji Xian, so naturally she accepted their goodwill. Except, the interaction between the three people were translated into a different meaning in the eyes of others. Some students at the two tables beside them didn't feel good about this situation. Wasn't it just that Lu Muyen was from a better family background? Was it worth it for the two instructors to express their goodwill like this? Teachers, isn't it those who see have a share for? Then shouldn't you also give us some meeting gifts? Ji Han Su glanced at Lu Muyen thoughtfully, then smiled and said to Lan Si and Ji Xian playfully. Lan Si raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, You also want a meeting gift? Sure, here you guys are. After saying that, he took out a handful of candy and threw a few to each of them. Teacher, you can't possibly be this stingy. You want to dismiss us with just a few candies? Ji-Han-su caught the candy and complained with a smile. This is candy made from spiritual fruits. It can replenish your elemental energy during battle. If you don't want it, then return it. Lance's delicate and pretty face revealed a trace of playfulness. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. When Ji-Han-su heard that the candy had such an effect, he immediately put it away happily. Want? Of course I want it. The other people didn't expect this candy to have such an effect either, and put it away as if a treasure. Lu Muyen picked up a candy and placed it in front of her nose for a sniff. An understanding crossed her eyes. Then she tossed the candy into her mouth to try its effect. The taste was rather sweet and sour, but the effect of replenishing spiritual energy was much worse than her grade 1 spiritual energy replenishing pill. Seeing Lu Muyen directly pick up the candy and eat, the corner of everyone's mouth, except Lu Mubai, twitched. Did she have to be such a spendthrift? Although it's candy, so it's sugar, but it had the effect of a pill. Was it really good to be this luxurious? Lu Muyen, this is what Teacher Lan gave us to use to replenish our elemental energy during battle. Aren't you failing his expectations by eating it just like this? The female student who won first place in the senior Earth class said. Lu Muyen furrowed her brows. Why did she discover that she just wasn't agreeable to women? Most of the female sword masters she had met didn't like her. But it's not like she had the face of a Vixen 5 either. Was it because people were jealous of her rising to greater heights from a trash? Or was it Lan Si and Ji Xian's attitude towards her that they didn't like? Such people were truly too narrow-minded. They'd have a tough time walking on the path of the strong. Of course, if someone slapped her, it was impossible for her to show her other cheek and let them slap it too. Teacher Lan Si, did you just say that the candy is used to replenish our elemental energy in battle? Lu Muyen asked, blinking at Lan Si innocently. Lan Si chuckled. No. Then did you not allow us to eat the candy that you gifted us right now? Also no. Then have I failed you by eating the candy now? You haven't. Lu Muyen glanced at the woman with her beautiful eyes and sneered. This senior sister. It seems that you aren't the roundworm in Teacher Lan's belly 6. You. The woman didn't expect Lu Muyen would ask Lan Si like this. Her face flushed red, unsure if it was because she was angered or because she was shamed. This result tells you that you shouldn't pretend to be able to guess other people's thoughts. If you want to stand out, then you need to see if you have the capital to do so. Lu Muyen ridiculed coldly. The woman looked up and saw that there was also dissatisfaction in Lan Si's eyes. Her face paled, bit her lip and stopped talking. Then, Lu Muyen discovered that several of the senior students cast unkind glances at her. Her lips raised slightly in coldness. It was best to separate from these people when they reached the blazing mountain range. One referring to Lan Si. Foxes are thought to be sly and cunning. 2 grow even darker like ink, which means angered, dissatisfied, etc. 3 pulling aggro, or getting aggro is a gaming term that's slipped into everyday use in China. Usually to complain, sometimes jokingly, about how what someone says or does might cause people to hate them. I never knew that it was a gaming term until esports dramas became popular a couple years back, like The King's Avatar. Falling into your smile, etc. Hahaha. I don't watch all esports dramas though. I'm a bit picky with dramas in general. XD The King's Avatar is a 10 out of 10 for me for those that like esports. Watch the anime too, Chinese anime. Do recommend. No romance though. For occasionally used shamelessly by people to say I want a share of that too, even though they might not have done anything to deserve it. But the party they're trying to take a share from might not have done anything to deserve it either. Literally, since I saw it as well, I should have a share of it. 5. A bewitching, enchanting face that is often used to describe people that have a face that men are enchanted by, but other women might use to berate another woman for, usually because of jealousy. 6. A person who is a roundworm in my body means they understand the person a lot. Not being a roundworm in my body means they don't understand them at all. usually used as a joke, is rather informal, though I've seen more serious dramas say it rhetorically. Till this day I have no idea why it's this particular parasite that's used in this metaphor. In a way I understand, in a way I don't. Did a quick search, and apparently it comes from an old saying. Thought to keep this novel more authentic by leaving it as it is so as to learn more about Chinese culture? Haha, random note. LMAO, yup, females really don't like Lu Mu Yan. At least the author's aware of that too. Haha, random note too. Ah. The drama chef Hua is making me drool. The food looks so yummy. Chapter 64. Qi Yixian's proposal. After eating, Lu Muyin saw the crescent moon that hung in the sky. Currently, at the location of the small town they were in, the essence of the sun and moon were the densest. She leapt out from her window and onto the rooftop. She sat cross-legged where it was darkest, closed her eyes and performed a macrocosmic orbit skill around her body, absorbing the essence of the moonlight. 2 hours later, she discovered that someone arrived on the roof. Her hands danced in midair like butterfly wings, waiting for the macrocosmic orbiting skill to be completed. When she opened her eyes, she met Qi Yixian's black eyes that carried complex colors. The moonlight poured on his cold facial features, softening his face a little bit. Need something? Lu Muyin didn't look away, only looking at Qi Yixian indifferently. Qi Yixian suddenly had the urge to hold Lu Muyin in his arms. When he was practicing right now, he accidentally discovered that there was Lu Muyin's aura on the rooftop. So came up as if he was controlled by something. And what entered his eyes was a graceful woman with her eyes closed, breathing beneath the moonlight, her hands dancing as part of a skill, and a thin white, soft light enveloped her, giving her a kind of cold and ethereal feel that he had never seen before. Muyin, can we discuss something? What do I have to discuss with you? Lu Muyin smiled with ridicule. The colors in Qi Yixian's eyes were clear to her. This man fell in love with her. But so what? She was no longer the Lu Muyin she used to be. Must we choke each other like this when we talk? Qi Yixian couldn't help but furrow his brows. Since when did Lu Muyin change her docile personality towards him to constantly fighting against him? It seemed that it was since Gu Yanran injured her. Lu Muyin didn't want to be entangled with Qi Yixian too much. Clearing things up was good, so she nodded. Speak. Can we go back to how we were? Qi Yixian pressed his lips together tightly, his jawline clearly defined. Cannot. Why? Are you still blaming me for not preventing Gu Yanran from injuring you last time? The veins on Qi Yixian's hands that were hidden in his sleeves popped as his palms were full of sweat. Lu Muyin raised her eyebrow and said, You know, and you still ask? This man definitely had a problem. Last time you targeted her first. I don't know when your temper became so unreasonable. Last time she taught you a lesson. I didn't do anything not because I supported her, but because I wanted you to be more thoughtful after experiencing that. Qi Yixian's expression was stained with a layer of helpless sadness. At the time, it's true he didn't stop Gu Yanran from teaching Lu Muyin a lesson, but when Lu Muyan's dantian was almost destroyed by Gu Yanran, he was about to act, except Yin Jin was one step ahead. It was true that he used to find it bothersome to be pestered by Lu Muyin, but they essentially grew up together since they were children, so he wouldn't watch her be beaten to death. It was just that he didn't expect that when he fell in love with her now, that incident would cause an irreparable gap between them. When I was unconscious last time, that soul-condensing pill was sent by you? Seeing that the helplessness in Qi Yixian's eyes when speaking about the incident wasn't fake, Lu Muyin suddenly remembered that she had relied on that soul-condensing pill to merge all of her into this body. So she took a guess and asked. After waking up last time, she asked her grandfather and the others about the soul-condensing pill, but they all hesitated. Not long ago, the Lu clan even inexplicably helped the Qi clan find a rare crystal stone. At the time, she felt that something was strange. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. The most important thing was that there were only 2 clans in the entire imperial capital who had a soul-condensing pill. And the Qi clan was one of them. The other clan and the Lu clan had a bad relationship, so it was impossible for them to take out such a precious pill for her. Grandpa Lu said it. Qi Yixian didn't want to use the situation of the pill to seek any rewards from Lu Muyan, so he never mentioned it in front of her. I guessed. Lu Muyan half closed her eyes, covering up the change in her eyes. She really didn't expect Qi Yixian actually helped her once. If it weren't for that soul-condensing pill, even if the previous Lu Muyan had willingly offered her body to her, her soul wouldn't have been able to merge so perfectly with this body. Count this as me owing you a personal favor, Lu Muyan said after a long silence. What the previous Lu Muyan did for Qi Yixian was more than what a soul-condensing pill could be used to repay, so she would repay this personal favor, but to Qi Yixian, it was just a personal favor. No need. I never thought to make you pay back that favor. Anger slowly rose on Qi Yixian's face. He also didn't know why, at the time, he would send his family's precious soul-condensing pill that was rewarded to him, to the Lu clan. Maybe because he felt he owed her a lot, but at the time, he was certain he hadn't fallen in love with Lu Muyan yet. Right now, he didn't want Lu Muyan's return of favor for giving her the pill. He only wanted her, nothing more. But he didn't want to say it, afraid that it would scare her away. If I owe it, I owe it. Whether you want it or not, I'll remember the favor, and will eventually return it to you. She hated owing favors, not to mention a favor from Qi Yixian, who had once hurt the original owner of this body. So whether this man wanted it or not, she would repay it. Must you really be so distant with me? Qi Yixian suddenly stepped forward and half-squatted in front of Lu Muyan, with a trace of anger in his eyes. Lu Muyan didn't avoid him, and met his fiery gaze coldly. Are we familiar? Then what was your affection for me before? Just because of a past event, are you going to completely erase our affections? Qi Yixian couldn't accept the indifference and coldness in Lu Muyan's eyes, as if they had really become strangers. Ha! Lu Muyan raised her head and let out a soft laugh, then stared at Qi Yixian and said, "The feelings I had for you, did you accept it? No. Have we ever had love between us? Even more no. So, Qi Yixian, don't imagine that your love's being reciprocated. When I genuinely liked you, you didn't cherish it. Now that I hate you, you come to pester me. You really are looking for pain." Lu Muyan raised her hand and pushed Qi Yixian, who had gotten close to her, away. She didn't like men who were strangers to be so close to herself, and hoped even more that this man would stop pestering her. So her tone was very awful. Qi Yixian took a deep breath, and resisted the urge to strangle this cruel woman. A little madness appeared on his face. "Yes, I'm looking for pain. I admit that I like you now." Then he suddenly stretched out his hand, and grabbed Lu Muyan's beautiful wrist, his eyes firm and eager, saying, "Muyan, can you give me a chance?" The corner of Lu Muyan's lips curled up, then approached Qi Yixian's ear. Her red lips uttered cruel words, instantly shattering all of Qi Yixian's illusions and hopes. "Can't. There is absolutely no possibility between us. Even if I die, I won't choose you again. Lu Muyan, you're truly ruthless." Qi Yixian turned his head, and a faint fragrance of medicine lingered around his nose from Lu Muyan. Finally unable to control himself, he pulled hard and wanted to hug this woman, who he loved and hated, tightly in his arms. Except, before the person was pulled closer, Lu Muyan flexibly pulled her wrist out of his grip, out of his control. She looked at him with an unhappy expression, and said something that made him heartbroken. "You were asking for everything. If you want to look for pain, then do it yourself secretly. I don't have time to be entangled with you." Random note. Love her direct personality honestly. Tell him. Make this clear, that's how you do it. Don't be wishy-washy. I actually can't remember what happens to him eventually even after rereading this novel so many times, haha. I only remember the main events, mostly, and the main characters. Oh well, let's see how he develops. I mean, I guess it's a good thing I can't remember. Whenever I read, I'll still be curious, haha. Chapter 65, Glacial City, Lu Muyan. Qi Yixian couldn't help but shout grimly with countless emotions surging in his eyes. He had never been rejected like this before. and he wanted to turn around and leave immediately. This was the first time he had been embarrassed like this. But he was afraid. He was afraid that if he left, there really wouldn't be any more possibilities between him and Lu Muyen. He had always been calm and wise, but ever since falling in love with Lu Muyen, she had broken all his rationality. Remembering how Lu Muyen used to love so humbly in front of him, and silently did things for him, yet he was so dismissive of such feelings, and now that they had changed positions, he realized how bad he treated her then. "I'll treat you well in the future. I promise." Qi Yixian was reluctant to let go, and couldn't let go anymore. During this period of time, Lu Muyan's beautiful purple figure often appeared in his mind. How she affected his heart, and made him fall for her. After experiencing true love, how could he retrieve it? "I don't need it. Qi Yixian, just stand there and clear your mind." Lu Muyan took a step back, raised her eyes and looked at him seriously, saying word by word, "We will never be able to. Just give up." As soon as she finished speaking, she utilized the spiritual energy in her body and left the room in a flash, leaving only Qi Yixian standing there, motionless, with deep regret and pain. Early the next morning, when the sky was faintly lit, Lan Si took the dozen or so people on their tailwind horses and galloped away. Half a month later, Lu Muyen and her party finally arrived at the glacial city that was at the foot of the glacial mountain range. The glacial city was an independent city, not belonging to any country, but was instead controlled by a mysterious entity. Many years ago, other empires or distinguished clans wanted to get involved with this city and take over, but were all suppressed and suffered a tragic blow. After that, no one dared to reach their hands towards Glacial City. The Glacial City was located on the southeast side of the Glacial Mountain Range. If one wanted to enter the Glacial Mountain Range, they must pass Glacial City. Therefore, the prosperity of Glacial City wasn't worse than the capital of a small country. The towering city walls encircled Glacial City, pairs of armored soldiers patrolled the city, and security teams were set up at particular sections of the city to maintain order. At the gate of the city stood 2 rows of well-trained soldiers, whose cultivation bases were all above sword apprentice. The small team's leader was even an advanced phase great sword master. When the group rode their horses to the city gate, they stopped. There was a checkpoint there. If one wanted to enter Glacial City, they must pay the entrance fee. Of course, after paying the fee, the lives of everyone in Glacial City were guaranteed. Fighting wasn't allowed in the city, and if one violated the rules, they'd be killed without pardon. The entrance fee is 10 ink gold coins per person. A soldier in white armor stopped the group of people and said emotionlessly, Lan Si threw the bag of ink gold coins that he had prepared previously over. "Can we enter now?" The man opened the money bag, poured the ink gold coins on the counter, then took out a dozen or so notices from the desk and handed them over. "You may enter. These are the city's rules and must be followed." Lan Si took the notices, glanced at it casually, then waved to the others. "Let's go." After entering the city, what one saw first was the bustling streets, while the buildings were also very distinctive. The top of each gray brick building was conical, and it was said to be convenient for placing crystal stones that helped preserve heat. The crowd swarmed along the way, extremely lively, and from time to time, one could hear the sound of hawking one. They rode slowly across several main streets and checked in at an inn with an elegant and quiet environment. "Teacher, does the Imperial family's team also live in this inn?" Jihan Su was more cheerful and talked the most along the way. Lan Si handed out the keys of the rooms to everyone, looked up and said, "No, they live elsewhere. Well, meet them at the Glacial Mountain Range." "Does teacher know which inn they're living in?" Jihan Su pursued. "Come and read on our website Wuxia World site." Thanks. Lan Si raised his eyebrow. "What do you want to do?" "I have something personal to find Yin Ge for." Jihan Su touched his head with a smile. "You don't need to conceal your little thoughts. When you reach the Glacial Mountain Range, whether you team up with the students of this academy or team up with the Empire's trial team, we won't interfere, as long as you don't cause any deaths." Lan Si paused and smiled thoughtfully, But there are only 6 trial places. You should all seize the opportunity. Teacher, didn't the principal tell us as Imperial Academy students to team up together against the outsiders? A senior student from the Heaven class asked in confusion. The corner of Lan Si's mouth curled into a meaningful arc and asked, "Do you think the 11 of you can unite as one?" He already knew that the person who had asked this question had already formed a secret alliance with several other students, and they were rejecting of Lu Muyen. Since they didn't like Lu Muyen, naturally it'd be impossible for Lu Mubai and Qi Yixian to cooperate with them. The person glanced at Lu Muyen in his peripheral vision. She was highly likely to hold everyone back, but because they were afraid of Lu Mubai rejecting, he wanted to reply that he could, but the female student in the Earth class tugged his sleeves, so he stopped and made himself look as if he was thinking. Lu Muyen pursed her lips. These people were this rejecting of her, but she didn't want to participate in the trials with them even more. When the time came, who knew who'd hold everyone back? Enough, I don't think you guys can unite. Just form a team freely, and you can even act alone. Lan Si truly couldn't be impressed with the judgment of these people. But that was fine. If these few people, who would hold people back, weren't there, Lu Muyen would have a better chance to advance. Well, listen to teacher. Jihan Su agreed with a wide grin. Of course he didn't want to join forces with the other people from the academy. Among the 11 people, he only thought highly of Lu Mubai and Fu Chen. But amongst the two, one of them would definitely bring Lu Muyen, while the other was accustomed to being independent, so there wasn't a possibility of alliance at all. These are the rules of the glacial city. Take it and have a good look. Don't violate any rules. Otherwise even I won't be able to protect you. Lan Si stuffed the notices in their hands, with a serious expression. Yes. Tomorrow morning, we'll leave for the glacial mountain range. You're free this evening. You can go wander around Glacial City. There are many mercenaries and businessmen here. Maybe you'll have some unexpected gains. You're dismissed. Lan Si instructed them a bit, then left with the other 2 instructors first. Lu Muyen held the key and went upstairs with Lu Mubai. The others also left one after another, leaving only 4 people standing. It seems that the strongest students have their allied teams already. One of the 4 said with worry. What are you afraid of? They still have to fight the Empire's trial team. When the Sandpiper and the Clam fight, the Fisherman gains too. We may still have a chance. The male student, who previously asked Lan Si the question, said with calculating eyes. The other 3 smiled in understanding. That's right, until the very last moment, the result wasn't clear. Chu Luxiang, who was the only female senior student among them, and the senior Earth class winner, looked in the direction of Lu Muyen's departure, and resentment flashed past her eyes. She and Gu Yan grew up together, and were like close sisters, but very few people knew about it. This time she wouldn't only compete for a trial place, but she would also avenge Gu Yan. She deliberately confronted Lu Muyen before in order to reduce the defensiveness of several people towards her. After all, showing recklessness and brainlessness was also a good cover. At the same time, in the Ming Alliance of Merchants main hall, on the main seat, a man who wore red clothes and a silver mask sat indolently. After listening to the report of the person in the lower seat of priority, his long and narrow eyes squinted, and he said softly, "The glacial mountain range? Let's go and join the fun too." "Yes, Your Highness." One hawking is in, shouting for people to come and buy food. Just an FYI, since I never knew this word existed until now, haha, to a Chinese idiom meaning when 2 party fights, a third, uninvolved party, could potentially take the benefits and advantage, kind of like how when 2 people of equivalent strength fight, they may be injured severely, and a third person could take advantage to get rid of the 2 people together. Note Ye Mingxiu's back. LMAO. Qi Yixian Sai Qi Yixian. What can I say? Random note. Ah, finished Chef Hua. It was so cute and simplistic. And the food, drool. Let's go watch Chef Fong now. Chapter 66. trading market. After Lu Muyan returned to her room, she washed up. Seeing that it was still early, she went to invite Lu Mubai for a stroll around Glacial City. Except when they arrived downstairs, they met Qi Yixian. Brother Lu Muyan. Qi Yixian walked to the two and greeted them. You two are going out? Yes, we're going out for a stroll. Lu Mubai nodded lightly. He didn't like Qi Yixian, but he wouldn't reject him too much because of the situation with the soul condensing pill. On Qi Yixian's handsome face, there revealed a rare smile. I was just about to go out too, let's go together. It's better to separate. Lu Mubai furrowed his brows slightly. I'm alone, I think it's best to go together. Qi Yixian had made up his mind to redeem Lu Muyan, so said insistently. Lu Mubai glanced at Qi Yixian lightly, and found that his attitude was firm. His brows knitted even tighter together. He didn't know how his younger sister felt about Qi Yixian right now, so he looked at Lu Muyan and asked, What do you think, little sister? Whatever he wants. Lu Muyan knew that even if she refused Qi Yixian, this man that had suddenly gone crazy would still follow. So it was better to just let him. Lu Mubai saw the impatience in his younger sister's eyes and knew that she had truly cut and abandoned her love for Qi Yixian. So he didn't care about Qi Yixian's attitude, and instead, he felt that this situation was fine as it is. Let him have a taste of how it felt to desire, yet not be able to obtain. When they left the inn, Lu Muyan asked Lu Mubai, Eldest brother, where's the place the teacher spoke of? That I know. Qi Yixian said before Lu Mubai could speak. There's a large trading market in Glacial City. Aside from the permanent shops, many mercenaries or outsiders will rent stalls to sell things gathered from the glacial mountain range, like demonic beasts, spiritual herbs, spiritual stones and the like. Are there a lot of spiritual herbs? As an alchemist, Lu Muyan naturally paid more attention to spiritual herbs. A lot. But there are very few high-level spiritual herbs. But if you're lucky, you might meet some. Qi Yixian's tone was rather relaxed. He was fairly familiar with Glacial City. I've been here once, and I was able to buy the rare ice herb in the trading markets. It was precisely because of that ice herb that the alchemist enshrined by the family was able to refine the soul-condensing pill. Ice herb? That's not that bad. Let's go and take a look. Lu Muyan liked to study the path of alchemy back in the cultivation world, and loved spiritual herbs even more, so she was rather excited for the trading market Qi Yixian spoke of. All right, Qi Yixian agreed with a light smile. Lu Muyan discovered that the Qi Yixian that had removed his aloofness seemed to be a completely different person. But this wasn't that important to her. She owed Qi Yixian a personal favor, but once she repaid it, she believed that there wouldn't be too much interaction between them. When the three arrived at the trading market, night had arrived, and the night market just opened. The trading market was brightly lit, crowded with people, and sword masters wearing various different styles of clothes came and went. The atmosphere was extremely lively. When one walked through the gate of the trading market, one could see two passages. One of them lead to permanent shops, while the other lead to the free trade zone. There are a lot of spiritual herbs and spiritual stones from the glacial mountain range in the permanent shops, but the price might be a bit higher. If you wanted to try your luck and hunt for treasure, the free trade zone's more appropriate. Seeing that Lu Muyan was staring at the two paths in thought, Qi Yixian pointed to the one on the right and spoke. Lu Muyan nodded. Then let's head to the free trade zone first. The three of them walked through the passage on the right. After entering the free trade zone, they heard a mixture of noise. There were stallholders shouting and selling, and there were buyers who were bargaining. In short, it was an extremely lively scene. Lu Muyan remembered that Mo Yen, in her spirit pet bangle, had a keen eye, so she took him out and carried him in her arm to hunt for treasure. She started looking at the first booth with great interest, while Lu Mubai and Qi Yixian followed behind her. When she saw something she was interested in, she picked it up and bargained with the stall owner. If it was suitable, she'd take it. After looking through half the stalls, the three of them all gained a lot. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Lu Muyan even bought a lot of spiritual herbs needed for refining pills. And Mo Yen also found several materials useful for refining magic tools. Eldest brother Mu Yen. The three of them were just looking at crystals at a stall when they heard Yun Lan's voice from behind. Cousin. Lu Mu Yen saw Yun Lan walking towards them, and a gentle smile rose on her face. Yixian, why are you here? Seeing that Qi Yixian and Lu Mu Yen were together, Yun Jin felt a little strange, so he stepped forward and patted him on the shoulder, asking. Qi Yixian didn't conceal anything, seeing that his friend had asked. Am accompanying brother Lu and Mu Yen for a look around. Accompanying Mu Yen? Have you two reconciled? Hearing Qi Yixian say that, Yun Jin's eyes dulled. An inexplicable irritability rose in his heart, so he couldn't help but ask. Yun Jin, you can eat whatever food you want, but you can't say whatever you want one. Lu Mu Yen looked askance at Yun Jin. What did he mean by reconciled? She didn't want to continue to have anything to do with Qi Yixian, nor be branded by him at all. Qi Yixian's eyes darkened, but he didn't explain. Since he was determined to obtain Lu Mu Yen, then he had to show some sincerity. When Yun Jin heard Lu Mu Yen say this, he didn't know why, but his mood was instantly healed. He didn't say anything more on this topic with them either. Yun Lan glanced at Qi Yixian surreptitiously, and seeing the dejected look on his face, a slight arc rose on his lips. Then he retracted his gaze. Did you guys gain anything? Yun Lan asked Lu Mu Yen with softness in his eyes. Lu Mu Yen smiled and said, It was all right. I bought some spiritual herbs, but we didn't encounter anything special. How about you guys? We also didn't buy anything rare. We were about to go look in the commercial street. Yun Lan said, Then you guys can go to the commercial street. We'll finish shopping here first. Lu Mu Yen had a constant feeling that if she left this free trade zone, she'd miss something significant. Yun Jin leaned forward with a smile and said, How about together? We'll wander around again. Let's go together. I also have something I want to tell you guys. Yun Lan did indeed have something to discuss with Lu Mu Yen and Lu Mu Bai. Alright, let's go. We'll talk while we walk. Lu Mu Yen reckoned that Yun Lan probably came to find them about an alliance. After walking for a while, Yun Lan lowered his head beside Lu Mu Yen and whispered, Let's form an alliance for the trial in the glacial mountain range. Sure. Lu Mu Yen agreed without hesitation. She wasn't familiar with the glacial mountain range, and she much preferred to advance and obtain a trial place with people she knew, so she didn't reject the proposal of an alliance. Yun Lan didn't expect her to agree too readily. There was joy in his eyes. Then seeing some ruckus occurring in front, with even the word treasure thrown about, he pointed. Let's take a look. The rest were also attracted by the ruckus, and walked over there together. As soon as they approached, they heard someone say to the stall owner, Do you have a delusional disorder? For this broken thing to be traded with a tier 5, or even higher level demonic beast skin? Aren't you just indulging in a wild fantasy? This sort of thing's also considered a treasure? What a waste of our time. That's right. Only the crystals beside it are alright, but you want to sell it as a bundle, and you even want to exchange it with a demonic beast skin. It's not like we're foolish spenders. Quickly squeeze through and take a look. Mo Yan's voice that carried with it a bit of eagerness sounded in Lu Mu Yan's sea of consciousness. When she lowered her head, she saw her little beast's eyes glowing brightly. An understanding smile rose on her lips, and she quickly squeezed through. One a popular saying that means you need to watch what you say, because it can potentially be bad for others. Random note. Yes, girl. Thanks for being this direct about your relationship with Qi Yixian XD. Don't let others misunderstand. Man, Qi Yixian sure is desperate. Well, we've got more people evidently interested in her now. Let's see how that goes when Ming Xiao appears. Hahaha. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.